after Tanzania entered the fray.
Karibu mzee. Karibu sana.
Give us more time. That was the underlying message received from a joint meeting that took place earlier today to look into the route that the oil pipeline will take.
We did not conclude, and we have asked the ministers and senior officials to look at a number of issues that we raised and to be ready to brief us within the next 2 weeks. And we have agreed that we will reconvene this meeting in Kampala alongside our Northern Corridor quarterly meeting.
In a statement to newsrooms, the ministries of Kenya and Uganda have agreed on 2 weeks to iron out the issues raised. These include ensuring the least cost option for the pipeline, addressing construction features such as infrastructure, terrain and elevations, addressing and confirming available reserves to determine the size of the pipeline, and viability of Lamu, Tanga and Mombasa export options. In the meeting, both countries explored options of crude oil transportation in 3 routes: the Hoima-Lokichar route, Hoima-Nakuru-Lokichar and the Hoima-Tanga route.
We have made it very clear to both teams that this 2 week is it. One way or another, we must make a decision that must be in the interest of the people of Uganda, the people of Kenya, and East Africa at large. We want to make a decision and to take a decision that will be for the benefit of the people of East Africa.
Tullow Oil, Total and China's national offshore company were among companies invited for the meeting. The meeting between the two heads of state comes 4 weeks after reports indicated that companies preferred the Hoima-Tanga route. The construction of the pipeline to Tanzania is expected to begin 5 months from now. If the Tanzanian route takes precedence, it will put a paid to Kenya's plans to have the pipeline anchor the lapsed corridor. Today's meeting was called to settle some of Kenya's ruffled feathers after the Tanzania decision, and follow-up meeting in Kampala in 2 weeks thus takes on an additional significance. Laban Cliff Ontario, NTV.
There you have it. Now back to Uganda. Lawmakers on the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee have rejected a request by the Electoral Commission for funding to construct new headquarters. The Electoral Commission Chairman Badru Chigundu and other commissioners asked the MPs to approve a sum of 82 billion shillings for the project, while representing their ministerial policy statement for the next financial year. Maurice Ochoa has more.
Under Article 60.
Senior officials from the Electoral Commission appeared before the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee to present a ministerial policy statement of 2016-2017.
Nonetheless,
the statement sets out the performance and future plans of spending before the government makes a budget allocation. The team was led by the EC chairperson, Dr. Badru Chigundu. He requested the MPs to allocate over 82 billion shillings for the construction of the Commission's new headquarters in the city.
Last couple of months, certainly, yes, we may be blamed, but we've been concentrating on what has brought some of you back. And so there's not been enough time for us to, but now we want to resuscitate where we ended.
But his request didn't go down well with some legislators.
When you look at what you are writing here, you just don't know who is responsible, you don't know where you are going, and you are supposed to leave in October.
Why would you need 14.38 billion to construct just 6 regional offices?
The MPs used the opportunity to blame the Electoral Commission for what they termed its failure to conduct voter education across the country in the run-up to the polls. They based their argument on the high number of invalid votes cast in the last month's presidential election.
When we go to the performance indicators, number of voter education sessions, 5 of them, what was this target group?
Is an outcome of lack of education. I don't think so. I think to a large extent it's the intolerance on the polling station.
There's no possibility of having a perfect election. There will always be some slews here and there.
Statistics from the Electoral Commission indicate that 477,319 of the total votes cast were invalid. The legislators had clearly come ready to take on the EC chairman and his team. They asked him to explain why LC1 elections haven't been held like other elective positions.
Here you are telling us that actually you are not ready. You don't have any money at all. I don't know whether it is an ambush, whether you are telling us the truth at that time or you are lying to Parliament.
The one elections or the elections of the lower local councils, and we insist they must have a program and a budget before they come here to ask us for money, because the government is supposed to run as one from top to bottom or bottom to top. So for the last 15 years we've not had legally constituted LCs, and they continue to execute matters outside the law.
However, Chigundu said he had already written to the Finance Ministry to avail funds for the ongoing petitions. The Commission is set to return to present its request for the 2016-2017 financial year. Maurice Ochol, NTV at Parliament.
The opposition group Forum for Democratic Change, FDC, says any dialogue with the government should be about a transition. This is part of the issues. The FDC National Vice Chairperson, Northern Uganda, Regan Okumu, says the party wants issues handled for talks to take place. He made the comments at the opposition party's media briefing.
With an opposition unwilling to accept the outcome of the February polls, the dust is yet to settle after the incumbent President Yoweri Museveni continued his grip on power. He garnered 60% of the votes against his closest challenger, FDC's Kizza Besigye, in a race that attracted 8 candidates. Now, the opposition party's National Vice Chairperson, Northern Uganda, Regan Okumu, says the party has taken steps to engage the government.
We as a party, we continue to discuss soberly. Despite the criticism, people continue criticizing us. You see, you are using soft gloves. Fine, call it soft gloves, but we are going to be very, very systematic because we don't want to mess this country.
A month after the polls, the presence of security remains visible on the streets, while the police have placed Besigye under house arrest over his campaign of defiance.
If they think they can rely on police to deploy, how long are they going to sustain this police? How long? How long are they going to sustain this deployment of these people being given water every day? For how long? If we react, I can tell you, it will boomerang.
Okumu says a delegation of government officials have approached them for talks, an issue the Prime Minister shied away from weeks ago.
Quietly, he's sending up people. There have been some feelers, people from government. Unfortunately, they have been reaching some of our top leadership.
Government are always open for everyone, including our brothers and sisters on the opposition.
Have you met with Dr. Kizza Besigye or any other opposition leader trying to talk to them about peace?
I have not met with Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Do you intend to meet with him?
I have no problems with meeting anybody, including Dr. Kizza Besigye.
During the time we had the reform agenda, they sent feelers. I remember I led the delegation, we met President Yoweri Museveni in State House. And as a result of that, we started a national dialogue. And that national dialogue collapsed.
But even as the party warms up to the possibility of dialogue, it's also setting conditions.
If you think we are going to talk about the Kenyan scenario, we are going to talk about the Zimbabwean scenario, away from that, we are not talking about sharing any government. And the big question for us is, as FDC, we can only talk on a transition.
Speaking ahead of the polls in January at the end of his campaign in Kisoro in southwestern Uganda, the president rejected the notion of a unity government. In discussions he later held after the election with another presidential candidate, Major General Bernard Biraro, Museveni maintained his stance, although he did welcome dialogue. Civil society and religious leaders currently charting a path for dialogue between the opposition and the government are yet to go public about their efforts. Shilan Huchere, NTV.
There you have it. That is what we had for you in the news segment. And if you just joined in, too bad you can't catch me any longer. But I remain Bridget Kamahoro with the news segment. Next, we're going to have Simon and Joel taking us through what made it to the dailies. That is, well, Daily Monitor, The Observer, and what other newspaper they could have right there. They're going to let us in, especially things to do with the Holy Week. I don't know what makes people think that the other weeks are not holy, or why we deem this week holier than other weeks. But if so be it, let us act quite nice and quite good for the week, for the Holy Week. On that note, I think, Simon, you particularly, I think you should probably buy me lunch today so you can be good. It's a Holy Week. You have to act extraordinarily nice. I don't know what you have to say about it, but that's just what I think.
So when someone is good, it's about you being on the receiving end.
No!
How about if
I could be on the...
I want to be good enough to accept a lunch offer from you. Usually I would not take it for anything.
Simon, I invite you for breakfast after the show.
Thank you very much for that. At least now you're living in the spirit of goodness. Indeed, just to educate you a bit about the Holy Week, the whole essence of Christianity is the fact that a Messiah 2,000 and more years ago did arrive here to die for our sins. Now, many of you, of course, celebrate Christmas, which is the birth of the Messiah, but many times tend to ignore the time at which he did what exactly brought him. So it's in this week that the Christ does exactly what brought him on earth, to suffer and go through the passion, what we call the passion of the Christ, so that at the end of the day, he would die for humankind, resurrect after 3 days in the tomb, and that marked the salvation that we talk about, those who believe in Christianity. So this is the week, starting with Sunday, which was Palm Sunday, when he arrives in Jerusalem, through which then he would go through this whole week of tremendous personal activity that speak largely into the sanctity of his mission on earth. But that said, of course, there's an incredible array of stories coming in here in our daily newspapers. Of course, we have this epic conversation that took place between President Museveni and his counterpart, Uhuru Kenyatta, on the Uganda-Kenya pipeline, and of course the other route that's proposed for the Tanzanian route. There's also incredible stories about the historic visit of the US president to the island of Cuba after over 88 years of no American president visiting the island. And of course the red paper, as you can imagine, is screaming at us and telling us of how State House was attacked, and this is a story that we'll of course be breaking down for you when we return for the press review in earnest. A very good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning at NTV's Press Review. My name is Simon Kasiat. It's the 22nd day of March 2016. Good morning, Joel.
Good morning.
Yeah, there's something about your green tie that just reminds me of the guest I had yesterday for the big story, and that's Elias Lukwago in his heydays as a member of the Democratic Party.
He says he's a lifetime member of the Democratic Party.
And then at one time he swings into this other orange division of Suvi.
Suvi. It was not a political party, it was a pressure group. And he has another pressure group now. Justice, Truth and Justice Forum, I think it is.
You won't follow the political life of the Lord Mayor and really come to an end. It just keeps evolving by the day. But talking about the newspapers this morning, we have an incredible headline here in the Daily Monitor of Cabinet choosing the worst and best. You may wish to just share with us who are the best performers in Cabinet, according to who, and why they say so.
Well, it's according to Cabinet. Interesting. Well, these are some of them. Let's begin with the bad performance. Works and Transport Ministry, 48%. Of course, I see the picture of John Bebagambi there. ICT, 44%. John Nasasiram has been indisposed for quite a bit of time.
But how can they say ICT is a poor performing ministry? The other day we saw the whole country go down and lock down from social media and all that.
Is it the ICT ministry that did it?
Well, I thought they are working with the government agency called the Uganda Communications Commission.
The other day you saw that it is apparently
the police that ordered. But you see, the police can order. If you have no ability to do so, it means that you are incompetent.
But that's so competent about switching off something.
I mean, they already switch off media houses. The other day, soon they could take off this TV station from. That shows that they are a competent government agency.
All right, Education Ministry 34%, Agriculture 38%.
I'm surprised that education is one of the worst performing.
Why are you surprised?
I mean, Jessica Luko, for all I know, has been doing incredibly very well, announcing results of PLE, USE, UACE in
and
good
what
time.
is normally in those results?
Is she the one supposed to go to class? It's not her. It is you, the parents of the students.
Yeah, and we are part of the education system in this
So
country,
when children fail, it is an indictment on the ministry.
Partly, yes. Because they provide the schools, the teachers, and so on.
And are you
But let's
happy
talk
to-
about the good ones, those that are performing well. Security, 82%.
You know
Health,
that for
76%.
sure. You know that for sure.
Justice, 71%.
Wait a minute, how is health a good performer, yet you have places like Abima as we knew it?
I don't, you know. Let's see.
Justice.
Energy, 63%. Justice,
Right over there.
71%.
Energy. That includes electricity. When you look at the red paper this morning, we have State House attacked is the screaming headline on the front page. Deadly inflammable found at scene. It should be deadly inflammable substance found at the scene, and of course special forces arrest strange man trying to blow up the presidential palace. I think this is the story that emanates from your young jobless fellow who you talked about yesterday that went to carry out self-immolation on the gates of State House, and I challenged you and those who know him to bring
I don't know him. I don't even
I know you
his
can
name
find him,
yet.
Joel. I mean, you're always a guy who's friendly to these kind of warped up characters. Kindly get his academic credentials. I would be more than glad to offer this gentleman a job. Well, I realize his demands are more than just a job. He's saying there is unemployment and injustice. Now, I am not so sure I am able to offer the justice part of it, but certainly employment. And I employ you wherever he is. I hope he's not in police custody. Hope they released him to go and find a job. And I am here ready to offer.
I'm told he was caned and he forgot about setting himself ablaze.
Well, I bet they really must have done a good job.
All right, historic visit, that is Obama in Cuba. He's there till Tuesday.
And of course, as usual, Big Brother went there and started boistering around and, challenging Cuba to improve its record on human rights and all that. And then, of course, Cuba did also look them in the face and say, they had a very tense press conference where Raul Castro looked Obama in the face and accused the United States of double standards. I'm telling you, Raul, I don't know where I can find you, but I would love to give you a Monte Cristo cigar, a packet of them.
All right, BCJ police on collision course over device planted in his vehicle. Interesting one. BCJ's vehicle has been at one leg gear for what now? For quite a bit of time anyway.
He's a lucky guy. He's one of those whose cars are taken into self-custody, they bring it back and at least it has been improved on. I wish the police would take my car and improve on it.
And what? So he says there's a gadget. It looks like a chip and so on.
They improved on the car, yes.
And so
GPS.
they're still trying to find out what is this thing about, where does it connect to.
But now the police, if it's true the police did plan this gadget, I mean, why is the police, that's why I keep telling you, sometimes I think you overrate their intelligence capacities. Do you really need to have BCJ's car impounded and kept at your police station overtly for you to plant this device? This is a device you would plant anywhere at any one time. They should have the sophistication to plant it in his, like the Russians do. You know the Russians, they would plant, I mean, in the old spy movies. Oh, Uganda is not Russia. I realize. That's why, for example, the Islamic University of Uganda did elect, I am told, according to the red paper, and I hope that they are doing this without snaring at little people, they have the shortest man president. And I think this is a picture that's been trending on social media as everybody tries to poke at this gentleman that's been elected to head the guild of the Islamic University of Uganda.
We ran a story on him yesterday. He's a 26-year-old gentleman that's doing, Bachelor of Computer Science?
Barely a meter high.
Yeah, he's incredible. When you listen to him, he's amazing. Little wonder he won that election. I hope people begin to see what's in him and not his stature. I see red paper jumping.
Well, I'm sure people also realize that you need leaders who are down to earth for much of the time, and I think this is a literal description of what's down to earth.
All right, Brigadier Ondoga and Sentongo, Brigadier Sentongo named NEC bosses. That is National Enterprises Corporation. Why are you laughing?
I'll get you soon. That is a headline here. And this is about Fred Muwema trashing a mama betrayal talks and vowing to smoke out the proverbial TVO. Thank you, Fred Muwema. We would be more than glad for you to show us the flesh and body of TVO. You know, of course, these allegations that Fred Muwema had.
You know who TVO is?
Fred Muwema says he will get him soon. And I am anxiously waiting because the police has tried, it has arrested a couple of people. I don't know why they haven't yet taken you in. They've taken in, whenever they take in somebody as TVO, the next thing TVO is posting. So we do not know.
Because I work on TV, so TV, then O is for what?
Well, your guess
all right,
is as good as mine.
let's move on here. Elevating Busitema University was a big mistake, admits government. I see Jessica Lupo here.
But wait a minute, let's go down to this Fred Mwema thing. I mean, yes, I'm sorry.
We've moved on.
No. You see, Fred Mwema ought to understand that his personal moral turpitude is in no context. I have seen posts on social media, sadly for him, nobody seems to hold him above the allegations that have been put at him. Why? Because of the past, his past indulgences. Fred knows for a fact that he represented the farmers from Bunyoro who had a case against British American Tobacco. They successfully beat BAT in court. Court awarded the farmers damages. BAT duly paid the farmers through their lawyer, Fred Mwema. Fred Mwema disappeared completely.
Why didn't they sue him? Because I've had him in the past saying, I paid them, anybody who feels I didn't, let them sue me.
Tomorrow I can bring you a case file. That case is in court. BAT and Mwema.
So whose problem is it? Let court decide. So why are you deciding the case?
No, I'm not deciding the case.
No, you are. Because you just told us the case is in court.
No,
so
and I've told you. Listen, now this is the court of public opinion. Fred Mwema here.
Which doesn't matter too much at times.
Let him sue me for defamation. Okay, auntie, he's threatening to get TVO. It's easier to get me. I'm not hiding.
No, but see, let's use cogent evidence. Not a case that is in court. So would you say Museveni rigged the election? The case is in court.
It is alleged he did. Now,
so
and guess what? This is not the only case. We would sit here for the entire duration of this press review.
Give other examples, because you've now thrown the man in bad light.
It's not in bad light.
I can't even say I know so much about him. That's why I cannot begin to say.
So why don't you allow to be educated? Why?
And I'm waiting for you to educate me. You're not. So you give me examples.
I have given you one example.
Why don't we have refused this in court?
And we're talking about money, not less than 7 billion Ugandan shillings.
He says he cleared them. And he says anybody who wants to go to court, go to court. You're saying the case is in court.
I know for a fact that he's been trying to clear off BAT in small bits.
How do you know that?
I have told you.
So why is the case still in court?
I have declared my knowledge of how, inside
You're becoming a rumor monger like some guys I know in this town.
I have told you, Joel, that I know a bit about British American Tobacco, and you know how. So please.
Namboze blames Ugandans for failing regime change. This was somewhere in Mukono. One of those functions. And police dispersed Bukoma and Simbi NRM meeting. Why? That they are not above the law, apparently.
Well, now when you look at the Daily Monitor this morning, now, the National Enterprise Corporation, which is the corporate arm of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, has got new bosses, and one of them is Brigadier Ondoga and
Brigadier Sentongo.
Diba Sentongo. So we can hope that possibly a lot of things will be done. Do you remember Brigadier Michael Ondoga?
Oh yes, he headed the AMISOM contingent twice, I think, and then he was about to be deployed on one of those diplomatic missions to Nairobi. That's when they said, first come back and answer cases. There were about, 23 counts or so?
Including
each one kept being knocked off until...
You remember the case where his wife was complaining that they have detained his husband unfairly and all?
Yeah, for about 18 months, and so eventually was expunged.
So do you see the importance of subjecting yourself to justice?
You mean like the case you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
Fred Mwema? But he's in court, so what's the problem?
And we are waiting gladly. But in the court of public opinion, he can be very sure. He may need to get people with the master stroke of PR genius, perhaps who live in Mars, to clean him of the kind of reputation he has earned himself over the years.
Well, since then he's been getting very big deals.
Like
so
which
I
one?
Don't know.
Like which one?
How long ago was that?
No, like which one?
He's been in the media as a lawyer for several things.
Listen, I have been seeing, like I told you, if they called 50 media personalities, and you, Joel, for all the bravado that you pull around here, are not among them, then people begin to ask questions of, but is Joel as serious as he claims to be?
Well, he's learning to be serious. It's a growth curve. But again,
we are not talking about.
You were asking me, for example, who did these scores of cabinet performance? So he might ask, who did the scores of the 50 Because you see, to me, a good lawyer is the one who probably drives, I don't know, 55, you know, gets clad in what, and sometimes I might not even listen to too much of what they say.
When it comes to form and
so
appearance, he is one of the best lawyers you can have in this town. Moral turpitude, well, of course, one would argue that for you to be a successful lawyer, you don't necessarily have to be a very honest one, but now this is also a debate that's in public opinion. I mean, there we have it. UNBS, that's the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, is banning cosmetics containing mercury. So, Joel, that hair sheen that you normally like to apply on your hair.
Oh, come on. That has then for some people think I put, I don't know what oil in my hair. No, it's just good feeding, people. There's nothing I put in this hair.
You see, with the good feeding, you don't have to talk about it. It exudes itself.
Exactly. That's why I'm not.
But now when you're looking all skinny and pale, but your hair is very shiny.
Good feeding is not eating burgers and stuff.
No, but I'm just saying, Joel. I mean,
eating healthy and but the fruits do this. The more fruits you eat, the darker your hair gets and the nicer it looks. You know, pick a leaf, my friend. I don't know why your hair keeps falling off.
Well, you know, it's better feeding, you would say. Well, the National Water and Sewerage Corporation boss is still on his usual global role. He now wins another Global Leadership Award. Dr. Silva Mugisha here. And of course, if water is not dripping from your taps, then you can only question why he's won this award. But if there's water in your taps, then you know that it's a well-deserved award.
This is an international award, not a local one. So,
well, how would he get it if he doesn't perform locally?
I don't know. President Obama on his historic visit to Cuba, that's the quote of the day. He says, it's a historic opportunity to engage directly with the Cuban people and to forge new agreements and commercial deals. Interesting there. In the opinion section, Nicolas Sengova writes and says, many of Kampala's troubles are beyond Musisi and Lukwago. Jim Mugunga writes and says, new probe into privatization process is pure politicking. And Chris Pikaheru here says, here is why international partnerships are still essential.
About what?
Everything and anything.
From Western Uganda, the Umsinga is explaining why the NRM lost the Kasese polls. You better read it if you belong to the NRM. It could give you some bit of insight as to why you did not carry the day.
They were blaming him and his kingdom for failing the NRM, apparently. And he says, look, no, the reason you fail is because you are not organized. So that's part of it there.
Abim is still in the news from Eastern News. And,
Abim?
Yes. And they are telling...
Well, there's Abim Hospital?
Yes, and they are telling... government, or they're asking government to close clinics owned by health workers.
But the hospital doesn't work.
That was the last time when BSJ visited. After that, I think it's working so well that now they just do not want it to have any form of competition. So those who work at Abim Hospital and run private clinics must close them so that Abim Hospital works to its full potential. Why? Because the private clinics are taking away a lot of resources from stolen drugs, perhaps, and to also the human resource.
And that's not just in Abim, by the way. Everywhere in this country, unfortunately. The editorial of the Daily Monitor says extend clean water across the country.
And
but their boss just won an award.
What is the editorial saying?
Extend clean water across the country.
There we have it. Now from northern Uganda, encroachers are given a week to quit wetland. It seems there must be this huge wetland gully where
for those deadlines, they come, go, they bring in some more, then they go.
There's World Meteorological Day 2016. I don't even want to look at it because the last I checked, they promised us hell on earth. They said we would have very violent El Nino. Now, El Nino is just bad enough. But when you add on a superlative like it's going to be violent.
But it was quite a bit. And I'm told, by the way, the humidity that we're experiencing is an after effect of that. Why are you laughing?
An after effect of what? There has not been El Nino. So how can it have?
How
can it end before it starts?
It's in different... I don't know.
I was not in Kenya when I heard it. That's coming to Kenya, and therefore it's in Kenya. I'm in Uganda. I was here in Uganda with you. They promised we here in Uganda El Nino,
and according to them, it came. It's just that it varies. It varies. So anyway, those scientists explain it a certain way, but they're not as bad as you hate as what it is to be.
Proposed sugar tax, the poor to bear the brunt of high costs. Now, of course, sugar remains a very important substance for human consumption, but you know there is a paradox to it. When Joel, the way you are unable to afford yourself the next kilo of sugar and all that, you're struggling and you're making a lot of noise how the poor are to bear the brunt. You can only take tea at NTV where it's provided for free. The day you start affording
your own sugar. But I'm here from morning till night, so when I go home, I'm just going to sleep. Why should I buy sugar in my house?
If you actually go home, because I have a feeling you actually live here.
Hey, that's also not too bad.
At the Serena Hotel. Anyway, that said, whenever people grow in wealth and are able to afford themselves enough sugar, then the doctors come in and say, please, stop taking sugar. So when I see that the poor are to bear the brunt of high cost of sugar, they always have Even when it's the locals, the poor are the ones that take sugar. The rich, for the most part, don't take sugar.
So you're saying I'm rich because you're saying I don't
No,
have
you
sugar in
take
my
sugar.
house.
Rainbow Magazine for you who are preparing to have their kids take a long Christmas or Easter break. Here is a magazine that they can go along with and enjoy themselves, especially reading about the Easter holidays and why they always have a lot of things to do with painting of eggs, and of course the Easter bunny stories and where all that emanated from.
All right,
Business and law. Uganda's top corporate lawyers named. Let me see. I can see a good picture of David Mpanga, and this is a guy that I have not heard, and I keep my ear on the ground for a very long time. Anybody accused of misappropriation. The accusations I've had against David Mpanga here are that he is so straightforward that if you bring to him a case that he believes you are trying to use him to do the wrong thing, he will tell you in no uncertain terms to go find yourself somebody else. And yet there are those of his colleagues who are famed in this town. They would never go for a straightforward case. If they know of a straightforward case, they will actually go and look for the other side so they can unscrupulously win the case. And I would
But
make
you, man, also. I mean, I hear so many things about you. I choose not to believe all of them.
So
when all those, roguish statements are made about you, they don't make you wrong, do
does
they?
not stop me, does not deny me the, to use low words, the locus standi, to also point fingers at these unscrupulous.
Oh, you know your buddies well, eh?
That's exactly my point. So next time when I tell you of bad people, don't argue.
All right, still in business here. Africa's richest man opens a tomato factory. You know Africa's richest man?
Dangote.
Aliko Dangote. There you have it.
I know my colleagues.
No, poor people, by the way, no rich people. And it's good by the way to look up to people like,
Well, in next magazine, we are being told as to why Uganda has to preserve her water sources jealously, and this is obviously without a doubt, and that's why we are seeing the National Environment Management Authority coming in to crack hard on those that are encroaching on wetlands. Joel, did you know that on Sunday we had how many African countries going to the polls? It was like a super Sunday of elections in Africa. It was just that Cape Verde, and we had the Congo Brazzaville, where social media was switched off for much of that time.
Oh yes, social media, text messages, telephone services,
everything.
In 2016, who does that?
Congo Brazzaville did it. And of course, then our questions are, and incredibly also, some countries like Benin and Cape Verde did have, the opposition carry the day as winning sitting governments and all that.
Benin, one businessman,
so questions seem to be coming in and saying, look, perhaps maybe it's not all bad and gloom as it is that, African leaders tend not to be swept away by elections. Don't you agree?
Maybe to an extent. You see what happened in Benin, for example. The incumbent, the outgoing president, he did his 2 5-year terms, and he says, no, I'm not going to tinker with the constitution. Let somebody else come and take the mantle. Maybe that's why it was able to happen there.
Exactly, and I'm saying that at least it's not all bad and gloom, that we have people who are serving their requisite terms and leaving. So it's not fair to say that the entire African...
No, it's not. That's why I disagree with those, especially Western medias that portray Africa as this dark, I don't know, diabolical continent.
Do they just portray it because they're ignorant of Africa, or they are actually doing the bidding for their own government?
Part of it is ignorance. A good number of them have never stepped here. Actually, when you go there, you don't tell them I'm from Uganda or Kenya. They don't know that. You've got to say I'm from Africa. They will have no clue what it is you say.
But then I think
but others, it is bias, really.
No, they also have their correspondents here. They have their cheerleaders like you here, people who believe that whatever they spew is
But have you been listening to me this morning? Look, there are issues and we should not bury our heads in the sand, but there's good stuff about this our good continent. I so believe in this continent, and that's why I'm here. I would be in CNN. What are you talking about?
Gerald Sayeji with his dreams up there. Perhaps we can only use this Holy Week to pray for him so that his dreams indeed come to reality. We are taking a short breather. When we return, it's the big story. And from what I see on my radar, we have with us the president of the Forum for Democratic Change. What he has up his sleeve is a question that we'll put up to him. And obviously, it's an imploration on all of you to stay tuned, for this is going to be an interesting conversation, if you may.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Come support the Uganda Cranes as they take on Burkina Faso on Tuesday 29th March at 7 p.m. in Nambole Stadium. Muja Turumbe with Airtel, the official sponsor of the Uganda Cranes team.
Join us in a live broadcast of the Situation Room on Wednesday 23rd March 2016 at 3 p.m. under the theme Outlook for Multi-Party Democracy, Where is Uganda Headed? The venue is Makerere University Main Hall and the general public is invited. The Situation Room is supported by...
I use the 500 shillings daily bundle.
I use the monthly bundle with 1 GB data.
Wait! Africell has all internet bundles.
Really?
Yes, all internet bundles from 10 MB to 100 GB from 1 hour to 1 year on the widest coverage at the cheapest price ever.
Wow!
Dial *133# now and select the bundle you need with the fastest speed and the best quality.
So Africell is really the king of the bundles.
Isa yalagula Yesu ngali je mabega. Akali mu mufunzi.
Yesu ne Isa ani yasookawo munne.
Isa.
Buli lw'otayogera na muntu kutegeera bimukwata kutosobola kumutegeera yenna tekisoboka.
Era nako yakatugamba nti Abaganda mbwanyala aje kasukire eggumba gyegenda. Kala kagamba akukano.
Obote. Wateekwa okubaawo eddoboozi abantu lye bakozesa. Eddoboozi abantu lye bakozesa okutuusa okunnyonnyola kwabwe okutegeerekeka okutangaza bye bakwatako. Conquer British Empire. Naye nga Wakamu bimuyita, Wakamu amuyitanga mutya? Big Daddy. Big Daddy. Kuwuliriza, kufumiitiriza, kukola, kwogera. Bina.
Tuwaye.
Bwe yamala okutuula ngenda okutunula mu kibatu kyange kino kye ntaddeko bwenge nga muvaamu ebiwuka ng'ensolosozi.
Ebimu byewuunyisa, binakuwaza, ebirala bikyusa obulamu.
Omuntu atasomye atya n'okuyingira ofiisi naye ng'omanyi nti nina omukyala n'abaana awaka nakinkola nina ne bizinesi naye ntya n'okuyingira ofiisi eno okwennyonnyolako.
Yeddoboozi lye njogerako. Tuwaye.
You have the nerve to confess that you were the one who killed my sister!
Bro, listen to me. Listen, we're all very upset with the news, but please don't talk that kind of nonsense.
It isn't nonsense, Emilio! It's all your fault! It's all because of you! Because of you, I couldn't say goodbye to my sister! You're responsible for all the tragedies that happened in my family!
Okay, no problem.
All right. Okay. No problem.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
A very good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning at NTV's Big Stories, the 22nd day of March 2016, exactly 1 month and 4 days after the last election, if my math is anything to go by. After the election, obviously we saw, and that doesn't require me to break down what has been happening in this country and the political scene after the election. But what's for sure is that the Electoral Commission did announce President Museveni as the winner of that election with a 60% poll result. The runner-up, Dr. Kizza Besigye of the Front for Democratic Change, was allotted 30%. Supreme Court justices are conclaving, if I may use that term, to come up with a verdict. But as that be it is, less than a week after the election results were released, we did see Dr. Kizza Besigye holed up at his house, not within his will, but certainly against his will by the security forces. Their reason, his ability to move around the country or wherever else he wanted to move other than his home would create a bit of skirmishes that they were not willing to entertain. Since then, of course, there have been a number of initiatives led by his party, the Forum for Democratic Change. One of those is the famous, or should I say infamous, call to boycott every Thursday. Boycott going to work in solidarity of your leader that is under incarceration. But also it went and took different forms, grew ears and legs, and also took the form of boycotting some musicians for their political affiliations. Then there is also the Tuesday edition of this initiative, a prayer Tuesday across the country at all Forum for Democratic Change offices. And then of course we did see the first one take place at the FDC headquarters last week on Tuesday. And of course pictures from there showed very emotional people praying hard for divine intervention to the dire situation they are in. Long and short, after that, there have been calls from the government side. We are told no one has come out to substantiate them or even acknowledge them. So the FDC, a way of extending an olive branch and saying we can have a dialogue, we can have a conversation. And last evening we did run a story coming in from the Forum for Democratic Change press conference, perhaps to bring this conversation I'm going to have with the Forum for Democratic Change President, Major General Mugisha Muntu. May call for this story just to put us into the right perspective. Let's go with the story coming in from last evening, from yesterday, where the Honorable Regan Okumu did say something about this call to dialogue, from where then we shall delve into the conversation on the big story with Major General Mugisha Muntu.
With an opposition unwilling to accept the outcome of the February polls, the dust is yet to settle after the incumbent President Museveni continued his grip on power. He garnered 60% of the votes against his closest challenger, FDC's Kizza Besigye, in a race that attracted 8 candidates. Now, the opposition party's National Vice Chairperson in Northern Uganda, Regan Okumu, says the party has taken steps to engage the government.
We as a party, we continue to discuss soberly. Despite the criticism, people continue criticizing us. You see, you are using soft gloves. Fine, call it soft gloves, but we are going to be very, very systematic because we don't want to mess this country.
A month after the polls, the presence of security remains visible on the streets, while the police have placed Besigye under house arrest over his campaign of defiance.
If they think they can rely on police to deploy, how long are they going to sustain this police? How long? How long are they going to sustain this deployment of these people being given water every day? For how long? If we react, I can tell you, it will boomerang.
Okumu says a delegation of government officials have approached them for talks, an issue the Prime Minister shied away from weeks ago.
Quietly, he's sending up people. There have been some fillers, people from government. Unfortunately, they have been reaching some of our top leadership.
Government are always open for everyone, including our brothers and sisters on the opposition.
Have you met with Dr. Kizza Besigye or any other opposition leader try and talk to them about peace?
I have not met with Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Do you intend to meet with him?
I have no problems with meeting anybody, including Dr. Kizza Besigye.
During the time we were in the reform agenda, they sent fillers. I remember I led the delegation, we met President Yoweri Museveni in State House. And as a result of that, we started a national dialogue. And that national dialogue collapsed.
But even as the party warms up to the possibility of dialogue, it's also setting conditions.
If you think we are going to talk about the Kenyan scenario, we are going to talk about the Zimbabwean scenario, away from that. We are not talking about sharing any government. And the big question for us is, as FDC, we can only talk on a transition.
Speaking ahead of the polls in January at the end of his campaign in Kisoro in southwestern Uganda, the president rejected the notion of a unity government. In discussions he later held after the election with another presidential candidate, Major General Benon Biraro, Museveni maintained his stance, although he did welcome dialogue. Civil society and religious leaders currently charting a path for dialogue between the opposition and the government are yet to go public about their efforts. Shilan Huchere, NTV.
A very good morning, Major General Mugisha Muntu. You're the president of the Forum for Democratic Change.
Good morning.
I can see you're smartly clad in the code for black every Tuesday. How is that campaign going, by the way?
We have a day of prayers today, Tuesday.
It's been going on. Last Tuesday, of course, we did see those not very kind of pictures of you shedding a tear, very emotional and in deep prayer and meditation. Well, I know, of course, this Tuesday's prayer is even more symbolic that it's a Tuesday within the Holy Week. Yeah. And I can see that you're also using a multi-pronged approach to finding a solution to your challenges. And of course, divine intervention being one of those. But could you please just enlighten us on how the other efforts to try and ameliorate the country, or even very specifically FDC, from the kind of situation you find yourselves in, are progressing?
We are using different channels through which we would like to believe the Ugandan people would express their discontent. One of them also make a statement, like the one of stay home, because the main focus is to break the arrogance of the regime and also neutralize the sense of impunity with which the regime seems to think that they can do anything and go with it. So I'd like to focus the Ugandan people, all of us, to realize that we can't continue living with the state of affairs that there are, where you find that you more or less have a police state now. And it's a country that is, we are sitting on a time bomb, more or less. That time bomb doesn't have to go off, and that's why we are doing everything humanly possible to draw attention of all of us as Ugandan people to say we can diffuse this situation. But the only way we can diffuse this situation is to use different channels to make a statement to the powers that be. It's not going to be business as usual, but you can manipulate people for a while, even for a number of years, but there is always a limit. And change, we have to be very careful. There are changes which are smooth, but there are also changes which can be disruptive. We've gone through disruptive changes in the past. We don't want to go through any such disruptive change anymore. And we as the Ugandan people therefore need to make a statement to the regime that they need to stop where they have reached. They have crossed many lines before, but you can only stretch a situation too far. There is a time when you reach there is a time when you reach breaking point. And honestly, we really would like to see a smooth change.
When you talk about this smooth change, I just want to put it to you, Major General Mugisha Muntu. Yeah. Does this have more like a timeline, so to speak? Because we had an election, a winner was announced.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at? A change of regime before the 5 years that have been allotted to this one, or something that will come a lot earlier?
First of all, we would like to see corrective measures about the 18th February election. It's a stirring election as far as we are concerned. And in FDC, we've been drawing attention of the Ugandan people and also the international community on the need to have an independent audit. In fact, in the course, by early or mid next week, we are going to make a follow-up statement. Because we made one statement, we've been slowly but systematically working on a number of things, and we're coming out with another statement in the course of next week.
Right over there. Yep. When you call for an independent audit, who are you saying should carry out this audit?
First, in the course of next week, as I've already indicated, we are going to come out with the nature of the audit that we would want to see happen.
Okay.
We also know that unless there is internal pressure as well as external pressure, we do not think that the regime is of a nature that can willingly get involved in that exercise. And therefore, a number of levers have got to be pulled for them to realize that, you know what, we need to ensure that we go in through this exercise.
I don't seem to get you right. I asked who you propose or what your terms of reference for this independent audit are. Who would you propose, or what entities do you propose could carry out this audit? Are you looking at who? Certainly not the Electoral Commission, because you hold it in terrible contempt. Are you looking at the United Nations? Isn't that stretching it?
No, the details are going to come in the follow-up statement that we're going to make.
You don't want to let the cat out of the bag just for me?
No, basically there are technical aspects of it. The technical aspects, the most critical thing first, that it would be independent, it would be credible, it would have terms of reference, it would have a checklist, would have to agree on that. All parties involved would have to agree on that. And would agree that we need to review parties involved, yes.
Are you expecting that the National Resistance Movement party will be one of those parties involved? Are you reaching out to them?
I don't believe they can be involved willingly. But that's the whole point. You see, we as Ugandan people, everybody who believes that this election was stolen, we need to get the bottom of this so we can get a long-term solution. We must reach a point where even those who are in power, even when you are a president, when you've got control over the security services, to know that you must operate within the law, that you cannot operate above the law. That's the point we must make as a Ugandan people. So this is not something that is related just to this regime, but any regime that subsequently comes into power. So as a people, there must be a point beyond which we should not let those who are in power cross certain lines. It has happened in the past, but of course changes also at times go through a very slow process. But from our reading of the situation,
which may not even be realized in our lifetime, are you saying?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you can see like what happened on 18th. I mean, before 18th, in the last 3 months. So you can see what was happening in the country. You can see all the tactics that the regime had been using in the past, using fear as a tool of manipulation, using money as a tool of manipulation. All those failed. And we as FDC would like to thank the Ugandan people because they took a stand. All those manipulations that used to work in the past didn't work this time around. But of course, on a technical level, much as they voted, they got their votes in largely a large part of the country. The votes were counted as they were at the polling stations, but the manipulation this time around, a lot of it happened between the polling stations and the National Tally Center. Of course, even in some parts of the country, there is quite a number of areas, as we'll be coming out with information, where some place they want real election. They just went on the tables and started ticking. And,
but you see, that's a
so it depends on which part of the country you're talking
that about. When you throw around at press conferences and all that, perhaps may not be taken with the verve and seriousness they deserve, unless of course you possibly put them through a jurisdiction like the Supreme Court, like your counterpart Amanda did.
We chose to take the path of an independent audit.
An independent audit and not the court. But of course you've also been following very closely.
Because we need something to be done in a comprehensive way.
So you're looking at the prompt action, but then of course I'm sure you've been following the proceedings in the Supreme Court. And I'm sure you're waiting with glee and a high anticipation, like the rest of us, with the verdict of the Supreme Court justices, and without preempting or even trying to appear to even want to, try to gag them or maybe, put them in a difficult position as they write their judgment wherever they are. Do you, as a party, whereas you chose not to participate and go to court, but did you welcome the move that the Honorable Mbambazi did in taking his grievances to courts of law?
The court process is legitimate. It's lawful. It's one channel through which one can express their grievances, and we have no problem in the go-forward group that went through that path. But we've also been looking at what has been happening. We've got information that they broke into two offices of the lawyers, took
affidavits and other documents.
There's more than 100 of them, and other documents that were a basis for the petition that they were going to present in the court. We know the number of people who've been harassed, a number of people who are in hiding, who are supposed to be witnesses. So it's a path that is also quite complicated.
You see a dark shadow.
You see a regime that was, really bent on ensuring that it's not exposed.
But this is the same regime that is making underhand and covert maneuvers to reach you as the Forum for Democratic Change, perhaps even other political players, for a conversation, for a dialogue. We just saw the Honorable Reagan Okumu there talk about that approach that you've received. One, you may wish to validate that, saying that indeed some people from the regime have been contacting you as a party for a conversation.
There have been quite a number of emissaries from the regime who've been contacting the candidate, who've been contacting a number of our officials.
Including yourself?
I've not met any myself.
Oh, you haven't been contacted?
Well, being contacted and meeting them is a different issue. I've not met with any.
But you have been contacted?
We've been, as a party, certainly contacted. And we are very cautious because, you see, we are not strangers to this situation in this country. Cautious in the sense that, well, a number of people, they are new people, you know, like with not only the regime that's been contacting us, we've been seeing a number of other actors in good faith who've been reaching out to us and saying, look, this situation is so tense.
The other actors, for example?
A number of, church leaders, elders, and we understand the anxiety which most people have in the country, because we're a country with a lot of tension. There's a lot of anger simmering below what seems to be a calm surface, a lot of frustration. And there are people who are concerned. They think that this situation needs to be resolved. We understand those concerns, we share those concerns, but at the same time, we are people who are very cautious because we've learned through experience. First, we understand the psychology of the regime, of the leaders in the regime. We know how they operate. Some of us read them as, actually the president is the main actor, like you read it in a textbook. So there are those who believe that a number of these actions that they are involved in maybe could help in diffusing this situation. However, from our experience, we are not people who just rush into anything. We first want to understand the intentions, the motives on the side of those who will be proposing like these overtures which are being extended to us. And therefore, we are not about to rush into anything. And in 2011, this situation, we went through more or less the same situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because again, there was tension, the regime sent the same overtures. And that time we said, no, we cannot engage in any negotiations unless 4 conditions are observed. And one, we indicated that we could not go into those negotiations as FDC, that the negotiations must be broad, they must be beyond FDC. There must be participation of other
political actors,
stakeholders,
civil society.
Stakeholders. 2, that there must be a neutral arbiter or a facilitator. That we are not just going to go into a meeting where there's President Museveni, he chairs the meeting, and then you go into whatever conversation. So we aren't going to be involved in that kind of a negotiation. 2, 3, that there must be an agenda. And part of the agenda that there would have to be a review at that time of the 2011 elections. Of course, like in this particular case, there would also have to be a review on such an agenda. They also agreed that there needs to be guarantor so that whatever you discuss and whatever the outcomes are, that you know that they are either organizations or a body that would ensure that they would cause all sides to the agreement to be held to account.
Those are the 4 conditions. I also remember the 5th one. I don't know whether it's. I also remember that you also say that you're not going to go into a conversation where the person of Yoweri Museveni claims to be president of Uganda, that he must first understand that he is illegitimate and therefore does not deserve to be called president, and he comes in as a layman. Or if he's to be called president, then he comes as president of the NRM party. That would have been part, I think, of the review process. That was in 2011. So basically what I'm trying to say is... And they didn't honor that. They felt that the conditions were asking for far too much, right? Well, there was actually no response, so we didn't know even what they were thinking about. There was neither... And here they are again, 5 years later. No verbal response, no written response. So while there are people who are anxious about dialogue, about discussions, some may be new to these situations. But those of us first who understand the psychology of the president and the regime and the other actors in it, who know that there are people who want to take advantage of any situation, they're not people who play fair at all. We understand. We are cautious. If I get you right, you think that these overtures reaching out to you, one, either are not necessarily those of the regime. There must be some people who are trying to use a dire situation to benefit from it. Or it could be the regime, you know, certainly the regime, because I know for sure from particular officers within the regime who have been sending emissaries. That's one. But 2, they also are concerned Ugandans. And we understand their concern, and we've always been open to dialogue. But at the same time, as I've indicated, we're also people who are experienced, who understand how the situation is.
also know the people on the side of the regime who anytime they engage in anything, it's for manipulative purposes, not because that they are genuine, that they want to resolve a problem. So whoever is hearing about possible dialogue and needs to understand that at least us in FDC understand the conditions within which we are operating. We are very cautious people. We are people who never want to be manipulated. We are people who operate internally in an organized way, because there are also times when they use those kinds of approaches as a way of destabilizing an organization.
And throwing away
that has been tried on us for quite a number of times. We know how to respond to those kinds of maneuvers. We have neutralized quite a number of them. And we remain cohesive. We continue building internal cohesion and keep on focused on what we need to do, not only to strengthen ourselves as a party, also how to influence the situation as we move on in the country, because we are facing quite a complex situation.
So beyond the caution, are you still firmly in belief of those conditions, the four of them that you did mention that, sufficed in 2011? Would those conditions still suffice now, or would you have even more conditions?
It's the four conditions. Everybody who has approached us, whether he has approached Dr. Wesley as a candidate, whether he's approached us as different party leaders, those are the same conditions we tell them. So fulfill those and we will
be on the table.
See how we can go into initial stages of working towards a dialogue, because you also have to go through quite a number of processes before you even reach a point where you can even go into dialogue itself.
But be that as it may, as a party president, at the moment, obviously, the party, I want to believe, is not only concentrating on Tuesday national prayers, Thursday defiance, and stay-at-home campaigns and all that. But one would be tempted to ask whether there is any other, especially structure-building initiative going on. Are you building the party base? Are you doing what, like other business would do, growing your base and, carrying out marketing campaigns to ensure that you register all your supporters across the country? Are you doing, building structures from the grassroots? Is that process going on, or you're still there?
No, it's not a period for that. I mean, we've just been in an election. We just finished the presidential, parliamentary, and then we immediately after that we went into local government, 2 sets or 3 sets of elections. And then our main focus now is to put effort on all kinds of activities that we need to carry out, going through all measures, making contacts, trying to build broad coalitions across different interest groups to ensure that we focus on how we can change this situation. So that the stolen election of 18th, as it was announced by Chigundu, is not realized in real terms. That's our main focus, that's our immediate focus, and that's where we're going to spend all our time and effort.
Wow.
For now. But before we go into anything else.
And the question is, for how long? Until it's resolved? And if it's never resolved, we will only see you do that and not much else in terms of building party structures to the end?
No, the immediate, of course, there's the immediate period like we're involved in right now.
Yes.
And we will see how we move through April and see how we move through May. And we'll be making judgment every step of the way as we move. As long as we don't have our freedoms, as long as we don't have our rights, as long as the conditions in this country are not set right, there's no way we can tire.
Major Muntu, President of the Forum for Democratic Change Party, it's always a pleasure to have you have this conversation with us every time we have an opportunity to interview. Maybe just one final one before we let you go. It's just to put it to you that your party presidential flag bearer is under incarceration.
As another, another signal, the nature of the arrogance of the regime, the nature of impunity, and that's why we focus on those. Because once you break those, then you don't see a situation where you get a citizen, and not an ordinary citizen, a flag bearer of an opposition party, arrested outside the law. You don't charge them in the courts of law. You decide to arrest a person in the morning, put him in a police station, put him back in the evening. The courts of law themselves are being manipulated. That kind of situation shows you the nature of the regime that we have. And that's why we keep on calling upon the Ugandan people that we must break that arrogance. We
and
must break that impunity so that it's not only our
Ugandan people watching you this
bearer.
morning are asking themselves, how?
What do you mean how?
They're asking, you're telling them we must break this arrogance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they could be asking
through
themselves,
different
how?
channels. And it doesn't have to be only us as FDC, because we are just a party. There are many Ugandans who are not even members of any political party, but they are citizens who want to enjoy their rights and freedoms. So that's why we've been reaching out. There are civil society leaders we've been meeting with. We've been meeting with religious leaders. We've been meeting with the political leaders. So different people can act in different ways within, as long as they are peaceful ways, and we can collaborate in a number of them. People can act separately in different ways. So as we keep on building this pressure, the most important thing is for the regime to understand that they cannot manipulate the people anymore. We have to make that statement. For example, the question of when we've been saying, let's make a statement. Let's all stay home so that the regime knows that there is a problem in the country.
But that stay home campaign also did seem to have been met with a lot of lukewarm reception from the masses.
I think there's still a bit of a misunderstanding on it, and we're going to keep at it. We can continue, reaching out, sensitizing people about it. I believe at some point we will see it work, and we're not going to give up on that. Because there are different channels. There are people who have different inclinations. There are people who are not going to go on the streets and demonstrate, for example, but who can stay home safe, knowing that nobody is going to come and beat you up in your own home. So it's a question of more and more engagement. And we'll keep on broadening the number of things that we are doing. We would like really to see Ugandans take all kinds of initiatives simply to make a statement. This is our country. We must all be equal before the law. We must enjoy our freedoms and rights as they are enshrined within the Constitution. That's exactly what we are trying to build towards.
You're very right. Now, my producer tells me I have a little more time with you, which is very encouraging. I'll just ask you from an operational point of view as party president of the Forum for Democratic Change. We did see your presidential candidate move around the country and campaign for 3 months on end, and rather than he spend his money, we saw folks bring money to him, gifts and all sorts of other paraphernalia they thought would maybe help him in one way or another through the campaign, including and not limited to a chair, one wonders why, and a nice beautiful puppy dog. I hope he's giving him very good company in the house. How much are you doing in terms of fund mobilization to run the activities of your party? Because I think some of the challenges that you as opposition party groups in this country face is the absence of resources, financial resources, to finance your activities.
Ever since the election, we haven't engaged in that, but we'll be doing so at some point.
Great. Now, very finally, of course, we now know that you are well constituted in the House. You have members of Parliament that were elected on the FDC ticket, and you, without any doubt, are the majority in terms of from the opposition, if I may. And that, of course, puts you as the president of the party on a Herculean, presents you a Herculean task of selecting what we may one call a shadow cabinet. Have you addressed your mind to that? Or at the moment you're still concentrating on these other issues that are an aftermath of the immediate
We've
election?
been immersed in the after elections efforts to ensure that we change the status quo. At least we ensure that the Chigundu announcement of a stone election are not realized. That's why we've been immersing our energies. However, sooner than later we also have to pay some attention to the question of how the parliament itself will be managed on the side of the opposition.
General Mugisha Monti, it's a pleasure having you here on this program, and thank you so much for joining us and for enlightening us on a number of issues, including and not limited to the Tuesday national prayers and of course the Defiance Stay Home campaign every Thursday, including not limited to the conversation that has been rearing its head in the court of public opinion, that indeed there are some overtures being made towards you as a party or as individuals to have a conversation with the National Resistance Movement Party.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
For the viewers, it's always a pleasure having you. Stay tuned to the program, and of course it's very important that indeed you stay tuned to the rest of our programming here on our morning edition, morning at NTV, for more quality programming is coming up. Just to preempt you, don't turn your dial. You may need to get some bit of comical relief with the next segment of this programming when we come to Everyday Life, which is going to be featuring perhaps arguably the most celebrated female comedian in Uganda. That's a part that you don't want to miss. Good morning. See you tomorrow.
watching Morning at NTV.
This Easter, Tusker Malt Lager presents South African music group Uhuru. Legendary music star Madam
Yogera naffe buli lwakuna otereevu ku NTV akawungezi.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus came to set you free and to be free indeed.
In life, you don't wait. Yeah. There are certain times where you wait for certain decisions, but when it comes to taking action and choices, you have to move.
Jesus Christ found me, and he actually asked me a question, whether I wanted to live or to die.
Every day of my life was struggling. It's just that God has given me this kind of hope.
GXP every Sunday only on NTV, your official inspiration station.
Look at all the juices that are in there, and that is what I'm looking for. My goodness, look at that.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am a Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admire the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a first court targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only the two individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
You know what they say about girls? Who cries more? Girls. Who does the chores? Girls. Who's the shopaholic? Girls. Who's all about selfies? Girls. Who brings the drama? Girls. But we want to show you our real world, where we're more than just girls. Introducing Spark TV, the first female channel in Uganda, made for you to bring out the best in you. Spark TV, it's your time.
Isa yalagula Yesu ngali je mabega.
Akali mu bufunzi. Yesu ne Isa ani asookawo munne.
Isa.
Buli lw'otayogera na muntu kutegeera bimukwata kutosobola kumutegeera yenna. Tekisoboka.
Era endako yakatugamba nti Abaganda mbwanjala ajja kasukira eggumba gyegenda. Kala kagamba akukanuma.
Obote. Wateekwa okubaawo eddoboozi abantu lye bakozesa. Eddoboozi abantu lye bakozesa okutuusa okunnyonnyola kwabwe, okutegeerekeka, okutangaza ebibakwatako. Conqueror of the British Empire. Naye nga Wakamu bimuyita, Wakamu amuyitanga mutya?
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Kuwuliriza, kufumiitiriza, kukola, kwogera. Bina.
Tuwaye.
Bwe yamala okutuula ngenda okutunula mu kibatu kyange kino kye ntaddeko bwe
nga muvaamu ebiwuka ng'ensolosozi.
Ebimu byewuunyisa binakuwaza, ebirala bikyusa obulamu.
Omuntu atasomye atya n'okuyingira ofiisi naye ng'omanyi nti nina omukyala n'abaana awaka nakinkola nina ne bizinesi naye ntya n'okuyingira ofiisi eno okwennyonnyolako.
Eddoboozi lye njogerako tuwaye.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
I feel that we are going to be serious.
2 years ago, I was just referring to her as this café chick. Right now, I'm referring to her. In fact, I wrote this down. Multi-talented, award-winning comedian, actress, and writer. This is wrong. Coming up is Anne Kansim.
She's now a fake chick. She's no longer a fake chick.
Welcome to the show.
Chogereko.
We have a lot to talk about in the next few minutes, so that's coming up on Everyday Life.
Whoever came up with this.
Everyday Life
is brought to you by
Star Times.
Anne Kansime is here on the show. Anne, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. I must say, I'm very proud of myself.
For putting me here.
Really? Welcome to the show.
You did very well, Brian. You stood me. Stood me for 2 years. You are a hero. Manuela is a very lucky man. Very, very lucky man.
I'm telling you.
Woman. Into woman, into man.
When I see you now, I think back at the times when we were doing the show together and remembering some of the conversations we used to have, some of the bad mornings we used to have. And then I think it was really worth it.
It was all worth it, man.
Tell me about, since we stopped working together, tell me about those 2 years.
I tell you about you, I tell you about me.
You. Let's start with you.
I think those 2 years are the years I really matured. You know, hating, I reached a level I didn't like anyone at me. I didn't want to look at anyone at me. Man, you care every day you're going to work with people who can't stop telling you to be better, who just never tell you even if you are funny and you have received comments on the Facebook and they say, oh, today it was hilarious. Meeting, they're telling you how you're still irrelevant. What's wrong with you? Can't you speak English? Can't you look straight to the camera? I think I got the best training as far as camera is concerned with minibars.
Right.
And because of you and Mayamba Rakoli, you people tortured me. Mayamba Rakoli was my cameraman those days. Mama, I was tortured into being professional.
Right.
And I think if I could, I would appreciate. Maybe I have to apply and ask your partners if we can give you free time. Then for us, we go on our holiday and we appreciate each other.
You have, how has, like being a celebrity back in minibars, which was really fun, you were known everywhere. How is that different from now?
Then the work wasn't for a celebrity. I was a celebrity just of Bandabaku TV every day. There wasn't so much expected from me then. Right. It's the expectations right now that make it a whole new, different, complicated world. Because while you would like to sneeze, naturally, me can't see me when I'm sneezing. I don't see the need to apologize. Because, that's why they end up saying, because sneezing, I don't call it. So when I say,
you don't take an appointment.
I don't want to be saying, excuse me, what? Right. All those things are things I learned because of it. Those things I have to do now because people expect me to know that I have to be courteous. Right. Say excuse me, even when I'm getting out of my way, when I can push you out of my way, I have to say excuse me. So the things that I do, it's the work, it's the expectations, the things people expect me to do. I'm not supposed to be angry. If I'm posting about my husband, it has to be very lovey-dovey things. I can't begin.
You can't express yourself.
Like I have to release a particular person to the public, and that pressure is just
tough doing that because.
Yes, because who doesn't want to breathe in and relax and maybe snap the bra and let their body relax properly and they are appreciated for their flowing things. So now you have to tuck in, then smile, look upright.
Sit straight.
Yes, if you meet a fan, you have to be nice. Those days you could afford because you didn't know who was your fan, who was. Now, anyone who knows you from the askari to who. So it's a very complicated world right now.
What, you know, I've been looking at some of the awards that you have won, and by far you are one of, well, I think, well, you are one of maybe 3 comedians in Uganda who have not just positioned themselves as Ugandan. Was that intentional, or it's something that happened and you're like, oh, okay, good, thank God?
It wasn't intentional, though right now for anyone who wants to do that, they can do it purposefully. They can set out and say, okay, I intend to sail off the country or off the continent. Because the moment you decide to do content only in Uganda, really, let's be realistic, who do you think you're selling to?
Stops here.
You're selling to Ugandans. Yet you can do content that will be nice for the Uganda-speaking people, and then an English person can also hear you. I think it is partly the accent. So I didn't set out to appeal to the whole world. Me, when we were doing clips, did I even know about YouTube by then?
No.
No. We did clips, they became very funny. Then people started saying, where do we find these clips? Right. I looked for a particular venue where to put the clips so that people find them. When they found them, the ones that found them were not of here. But what I did, you can do it purposefully. You can set out to just apply to everyone who is, and you know these days if you put anything on social media, you have served it to the whole world.
Right.
Yes, because right now it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. If the world doesn't know, then who cares anyway?
Right. If you're just joining us, Anne Kasime is here with us, and she's going to venture into something that no comedian has done.
Really?
And of course, everyone knows your story. You are from Paruchitanga, Konkariare. I remember going to your home. You were, we almost needed tear gas. You know, you brought Kabali out. But let me first ask you. That is one of the shows that we did. Those were fun times. Those were
very fun
on your screen. But
I was still young, beautiful. But now
you are still young and beautiful.
I was still very young, very beautiful. Yeah, you look very serious.
I look so serious.
You know, these days, anyway.
But I don't look different. Look at me then.
Mom, look at that young girl. I was beautiful.
Before we get into the show, you got married.
Yes. To your surprise.
Well, we're surprised not. But how has your relationship also affected your career?
My relationship hasn't affected my career. Maybe how my career affects my relationship. Because I think the kind of complication, you know, marriages are not easy. Whether you guys are together every day, or you're together half the week, or you work in the same office, or you're in the marriage as a marriage, they have their own complications. Now, my complications are very extreme, unique complications. Meaning, while people want to live, I don't know, like the pressure that comes from outside the marriage is so hard. It's so hard. You'll have someone telling you, Achi, you've left your husband in Uganda. What are you thinking? In Uganda, he's being told, you've seen your girl posing, raising her egg. She raised her egg for a man in your heart. How do you feel? Little joke, are you serious? You know, the outside, the forces that come from outside the marriage are even worse.
Yeah. Right.
And while you know that averagely, you need to give your family attention and time, and you know it gets more and more complicated for me because of the career. I'm never around. So really, it's the career has put a strain on my marriage. But I'm telling you, my husband is a magician.
How do you balance that?
I don't know how he has done it.
Recently, you know, the MTN Women in Business, they were discussing a lot about how women balance their work and their homes, and having to be a wife, having to do a great job like this. It's easier
if when you're home, you're a wife. If you carry your work home, then you're complicating things even for yourself. It's nice for you to know I drove into the house. When I step out of the house, of the car, I am a wife.
Right.
You reach home, you can't begin explaining to him how all of you are equally tired and you all put your feet up.
The cup
You'll be
is
the one to
there,
get up and pick that plate and put it there and say, food is like, your kitchen is there, fridge is there.
Right.
Yeah, we are tired, baby, I'm tired. No, when you reach home, you have to be a wife. Because at home, he doesn't want to date the Kansime and everyone knows.
Right.
So you have to reach at home and know how to be who you are supposed to be at home. But you think I jump out of, someone told me, I can't imagine Anne laying the bed in the morning, nemubuza. So you think I marched out of my house and left the bed like that? Do you think I just marched out of the house without giving him breakfast? Now, that's what people think. But when you become yourself, like Kamukandi, and Ojok doesn't know that Kansime, you know.
Does Ojok give you jokes?
All the time, especially about our marriage. Every other joke I crack about me and him, it has to be from him because that's the only way I am sure it sits well with him. You get, otherwise I'll end up offending him and I reach home and I can't explain.
Right.
Yes, he ends up giving me the jokes and he's a very hilarious man himself.
Right. And Kansime, you're going to have a one-woman show.
Finally.
Oh my God.
One person show.
In fact,
said it's not even a woman.
When I saw, I was coming from the airport and I saw the billboard.
You are like, oops.
And I'm like,
what you?
Awesome. Because I remember talking about this 2 years ago on our way to Kamuli district. I remember we had a huge conversation and we planned out the event and how you would come from the ceiling
on the low,
you know, all these things. Yes. and then when I saw this, it was beautiful that you finally did it. What is going to be different though about this show from what you've been doing on YouTube, at Fun Factory? Are we expecting something different?
There are people who wait to see me perform at a band. There are people who've seen me perform with a band and they're like, why do this girl, kana. Then there are people who've seen me on stage acting as a child and they've run mad. Like you see someone crying because they're seeing their child doing mental things. You see someone else seeing me doing stand-up. People have seen me doing sketch. The reason I actually did that kind of artwork that has different characters is that show is going to be a show where you get to understand what Kansime is all about. As in, what is Kansime as a brand capable of?
Right.
That's what I'm going to, because I'm going to be on stage for 2.5 hours. Those are about 4 different segments with 4 different things that I'll be doing. And I've done it in such a way that I've worked with experts in different fields. I'm working with a sound expert, I'm working with a stage expert, I'm working with a light expert, and my producer is producing her first huge show, so it's an extreme challenge for her. Emma Kakai, she's also my manager. So it's going to be something where everyone who is at the venue is showing off. The one for sound, wants you to hear the sound and you hear it from the back of your ear.
From your spinal cord.
Then the one of the light, to also write you and you see the decoration on your nails. The one on me, when I'm making you laugh, I have to make you laugh and make you uncomfortable. I want you to come and you laugh and you say, Twaze one to enjoy. Why am I being tortured with laughter? As in, everyone who's going to be in that place will be there to show off.
Right.
I was talking to the Syroc lady, she's called Annette, and she was like, just tell us, what time do you want us to come and set up? I said, you can even come and set up on a Monday for the Thursday show. Right. Don't show off, eh? Come and say, everyone wants to bring their A game. Awesome. SMS1 has brought their A game in promoting my show. I've had over 360 concepts. People who decorate things that I cannot conceive myself. I've worked with people who I know as passionate at what they do as I am at what I do.
Awesome.
And I'm so sure this time round, I am ready.
You're ready.
I'm telling you, you will even might tip me when I'm on stage. You're like, Sonyo tukubye, katukongereko katono.
Was that tipping referring to me?
Yeah.
Now I'm seated up, I don't have time
you
to come
want
down.
To hide. Someone told me, I want a ticket, not of the minerals, the one of 100. I said, what minerals are they? Silver and gold and platinum, those ones, no. Me, I want this other one, yeah, for 100. The minerals.
What do you say to there's lots of female comedians who are coming up, and you have a show to that effect. Where do you see female comedians going?
you people haven't seen. Maybe you should even ask, where do I see comedy? You know, about 5 years ago, entertainment in Uganda meant music. Didn't mean dance. Didn't mean anything. And we have great dancers. You've seen the taboo floor dance? Those guys dance and you wonder whether they have the same amount of bones. As if they have the same bones as you have. Comedy, especially ladies, I think ladies will even have a higher advantage because male comedians are so many and they have a lot to fight for as far as content is concerned. But as a woman, for instance, I can't wait for that day I stand on stage with a tummy and I tell you about what's in my stomach. That will be the killer day. That will be the killer day. Now, as for the female comedians, I know they need to stop. Anyone who is in this business needs to not focus on their wallet. They need to focus on being as good as they can on stage. When you're good, it's so hard to deny someone who is good at what they are doing. So if people are entering it because they want to probably travel as much as I've traveled, do that, they need to know I was in it for 10 years.
It's amazing you say that because I remember when we're working together and someone would call you and tell you, and I have this match, can you come? And you say no. I think now. I remember you guys used to tell me, go and start the thing and make it work. Has comedy become so profitable that now even anyone can join comedy? Well, comedy is the in thing. People want to laugh. Finally, people know they need to laugh. They know it's good for them to laugh. They know it's, but they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay for the value of what they are buying. They think it's a human right. As in, they're like, now you're coming here just 15 minutes. And people usually tell you, can't perform for 15 minutes. They're just 20 people. See, the joke I'm cracking for one person is the same joke that will be consumed by 1,000 people. Right. So it's not a question of, you're calling me to your house party, so you should give me fuel. Did I tell you when I was home I didn't have fuel? But don't stop telling people that you are calling them, so don't call someone and tell them transport, there's free drinks, and it's so insulting. You need to value people. It's so insulting. Just value it, because just the way you wake up and go to hospital and you're a gynecologist and you go to work on someone and you don't want them to tell you, it's okay, just help me treat me. If you don't want them to just help you treat it, even for us we treat you as stress. So don't call us and tell us you're giving us fuel, and you know. Right. So it's just the respect that needs to be accorded to an art. The way I respect you as a banker when I come to the bank, I don't expect you to take a walk with me and escort me for a lunch break. I know you'll get fired. Right. So it's a job. People need to know it's a job. Being a comedian is a job. It's not a hobby. We're not in it to waste time. Right. On that note, those who hire us to be MCs, don't give us fuel. We don't want your fuel. Your food. Who told you we are hungry? When we come and perform, just pay. Just pay what we have agreed and we get out of there. And Kasime, of course I have to ask you this. In all this stardom, what has been your major highlight? My major highlight was almost meeting the Queen, because I don't think we even met properly. Having known that people there sat, people I don't know, sat and said, oh, this girl needs to come and say hello to the Queen. Right. I'm waiting for the special invite from Saja Wakaba. Sabasaja. Chogere nchidem. Sagara biogera bubi. Sabasaja Kabaka. I'm waiting for a special invite. Sijana kutunula mu camera from Sabasaja Kabaka. Sabasaja yes. Sijana, I won't even look in the face. I will just be very happy to be in his presence. That's the only punchline highlight. I'm sure the Kabaka is watching. The Kabaka is from his morning jog now, so he watches the show after. I'm sure he has respectfully seen that. I will keep looking. Or the Katikiro of Buganda has also watched that. Yes. Right. Yeah. Hey, okay. Give it to her, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah. You have to give it to. Speaking of people you want to meet, are there people that you want to work with before you?
No, me, you know now this is the thing, Brian. I see Trevor Noah is in my dream playing in it. It's like he's not supposed to be the one stayed on that. Like, I see him doing like this, enjoying it as if it's a normal thing. It's not. That man is in our dream.
Right.
Enjoying it, free as if it is his right. Me, I can't wait to storm Hollywood. I cannot wait. And I know it's going to happen by the end of this year. Because I know that's how I start by saying things and they're like, akana ko karota. Byange byonna mbirota. Mbirota, as in me, there's nothing that has happened to me that was possible. Brian, would you see me? Really? Did I even have a passport when we were in minibus?
Did you?
Don't I have one that is full now?
No, you.
Now that's how ridiculous
no,
God
you
has
got
been in
a
my life.
passport on your first performance in Kenya, I think.
No,
you
Kenya.
had to go to Kenya. You used travel documents.
I didn't. Kenya, you use papers and they stamp like this and go. Now the passport is the food. So those obscene things, those things you don't dare to dream about.
Right.
Those ones are the ones God is preparing for you.
You were with Lupita Nyong'o.
Yes. Oh, she's...
Tell us about that moment.
She was very happy to see me. I was shocked. very, very happy.
She was the one,
because I was uncomfortable.
Was
we met at Tamarai restaurant. And I got there earlier. Me and my guys said, let's be comfortable. Let's make ourselves easy. We pretend as if she's coming to see us anyway. When she came, you know, have you seen German Shepherd dogs out there? Ears do like this. We all went on attention. Waited. So she came, she had covered her eyes as if Muslim, looking very fast. She was with her mother, her father, sisters, what? So they passed. We were like, hey, Mama, who are those people? So they passed and took them to another section. They took them, but we thought they had come to meet us. Then now she hadn't seen it. Then she came running. Right. I put it in slow motion. I wish we had enough space here. I would jog for all of you. I put it in slow motion. She came, she's like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, oh my God, is my knee? Or I'm the one supposed to be giving you, oh my God. And it's when you meet such people that you have to be humble. Right. Of if Lupita is running to you and saying, how are you? Saying you're amazing. So, as in, like, if she is that down to earth to appreciate talent that could even be at a below standard than hers, go and need to go around breathing nitrogen around people. And you think you are more important. So it's a reality check, really. Meeting those people puts you in a place where you're like, yeah, agenda.
Right. I am Ann Kansime.
On Thursday.
Actually, on Thursday, Holy Thursday. You can go and watch this show because the next day is a public holiday. So
no excuses.
If you don't want minerals, just pay 100,000 shillings. That's a general audience.
And if you want minerals, get a table at 3 billion. It seats 10 people. It comes with 10 copies of Season 1, Don't Mess with Kansime, 10 copies of I Am Kansime music CD for the kids. It comes with a platter of food. It comes with drinks. Syrup is going to be showing off. Yes.
So it's free.
It's free. You pay 3 million, everything is free.
It's free. All right. And 5 million shillings for
and 5 million
the gold
for VVIP
ticket. Of course, powered by Spark TV. And we shall be there.
You're going to be there.
It's your time.
Yeah. Spark will be sparking all over the place.
Quickly, before we go, 30 seconds, talk to girls who want to be like you. And you know, when they see you, they say, well, one day this will be me.
Now, to girls who want to be like me, you should know that I'm not where I want to be. So while I am your benchmark for where I want to be, even me, I have places where I want to be, meaning I shouldn't be your benchmark. You should want to do better than I have done because the opportunities present right now were not present when I was starting out. So just know that if you want to be like me, simple, you're going to be better than me. Right. And you don't have to be a comedian to be successful. Pick one thing you are truly good at. Do it till people say, but that girl can punch papers. Again, she can punch. Even if you say you want to do eyebrows that are on the fleek, you can be the only person who knows how to do eyebrows on the fleek in Kampala. Choose one thing, even if it's stapling papers, do it so well. So that every time someone wants to staple a paper, you're the first person they think about. So you don't have to necessarily be a comedian. Just be good at that one thing that you love.
Ann Kansime, I'm very proud of you.
I'm proud of you too, Brian.
And you know, we're watching you, definitely watching you.
Thank you very much.
I worked with her for 2 years, and so I know that this has not just come like that. She has definitely worked hard. She has gone through a lot, from being directed to being abused to tortured.
Threatened.
to now firing people. She fires people. So good stuff for you.
Thank you.
And this show is on Thursday. We'll of course be updating you. Let's leave you with a clip of Anne Kansime as a warning to women who massage us in the salon. Please watch out.
Yes. Madam, what's that? What are you doing? I thought you're here to cut his hair.
Yes,
what is that?
But this is part of the package.
The shoulder is part of the head. I'm stupid. I do not see that the shoulder is. Is there a hair around this area here where you are touching right now? Is there a hair? Is there a hair?
No, but it's just part of the package.
Which package? What? So wait, help me. Maybe I'm very ignorant. Let me allow that I'm ignorant. Help me understand how the hair and the shoulders are related. What nerve endings are those? What are you trying to do?
Please, darling, let her do her work.
That is why you can never allow me to follow you to the salon. This is the fornication that goes on in saloons. After they've cut your hair, people get to know each other physically. You're now and you're doing it even when I'm here. Which means when I am not here, you tell him to remove his clothes and lie down and you massage him. That's what happens.
No.
That is not part of cutting. What?
Madam, it's just a misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding of, so I'm stupid. I do not see that you are going south. You had reached the shoulders. Who knows where else you are going? So when I'm not around, this is what happens. Madam, so you actually enjoy extra activity because your job description is to cut hair, but you're turning this into a massage session. Fine. Since you like extra activity, let me help you a little bit. I had come with my husband to the salon just to cut hair.
But
after that, feel free. You like extra activity. Follow me at home. You go follow him at home. Wash his clothes. Warm for him water and take it to the bathroom. Clean his clothes. That one you see there sometimes spoils his clothes even in the sleep. Clean them. And today is Wednesday, too bad for you. It's a daycare. So I'm going to leave him here. And I'm coming to pick you up at 2 o'clock. So just to know, sit, enjoy yourself. I am not here. Pretend as if I've disappeared right now. I'm not here.
Madam.
Start time. Owagabiwo mu Digital TV. For more information, call 117-117-700. Start time. Affordable digital television.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Join us in a live broadcast of The Situation Room on Wednesday, 23rd March 2016 at 3 p.m. under the theme, Outlook for Multi-Party Democracy, Where is Uganda Headed? The venue is Makerere University Main Hall and the general public is invited. The Situation Room is supported by...
Wanna make some cash? Just dial *185#.
Davis is my name. I reside in Chitezi, Wakiso district. I enrolled for the promotion Yolo Maja with Airtel. I subscribe for DSTV. I subscribe for Umeme. I pay my bills via Umeme. I do transactions, mobile money transactions, and that's how I got to the draw. I got lucky to win 619,000. Thank you, Airtel.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. The President Museveni.
Is the ICC a first code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that
My source. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Sports Update is brought to you by Star Times.
And Kansime ready to leave Kampala and rolling on the floor this Thursday, but we'll get into matter sport right away. The Uganda Cranes take on Burkina Faso in Ouagadougou over the weekend. It's no secret that they possess a hideous
Uganda, or is she natural, or she does these things in an artificial manner? But quite a story for her.
David, we'll get into what you know based on that sport. We're going to start with the Uganda Cranes. They'll travel on Thursday to Ouagadougou. I was at the training yesterday, and the most noticeable absentee was Dennis Onyango. How far is he from? Is he in South Africa? How close is he to home?
He probably should be getting to Kampala later on today, and he's one of the two players who are expected to arrive late this evening, the other being Mike Azira, who is connecting from USA, the player that does ply his trade for Colorado Rapids in the Major League Soccer in the USA. And for Nyango, the story has been when Mamelodi Sundowns headed to Congo Brazzaville for the weekend tie in the CAF club engagements, Mamelodi couldn't leave the country, and that's because the news has come out from Congo that they did shut down social media. They did shut down, I think, the airport. People moving in and out of the country, that was put to a standstill, largely because they did have presidential elections at the weekend, and I think traffic should be set free today. And that means that's when Onyango can travel. There had been a threat that Onyango would actually take a bus through Congo and then probably make it to Sudan and make his way to Kampala. That's on road, which I think now should be out of the picture. We should be past that, because now it looks like Mitchell did speak to him, I think using one of the team doctor's phones yesterday to affirm the state that he would be making his way here to Kampala later on this evening. But of course, besides Onyango, most of the other players have managed to make their way to Kampala, including their captain Geoffrey Maso, who's been around for some time, Tony Moeje, who hasn't had much playing time, where he's playing his trade in Iceland, as well as players like Farouk Mia, who are expected to arrive today. If you remember, his club, Standard League, did manage to win a cup tournament back at home over the weekend. And from that training session they did have yesterday at Nambori, you'd actually see the mood is gearing up slowly, although the two custodians are already in there. That's Salim Jamal Magola there with Mitchell, together with James Salito, the Vipers goalkeeper. So I think as the momentum builds up, I think now FUFA, I've seen a post that went abuzz on Facebook by the FUFA president, Moses Magogo. I think was trying to castigate some people who do a job like ours.
Yes.
When they did question a bit of accountability as to the reason why probably government did not offer more money to FUFA in terms of a chartered flight, as well as money like they did for the flight for the recent flight to Comoros. But as it stands now, this is of course the bridge for Uganda to either end that 39-year spell without making it to the Nations Cup, or literally continue with it, because 6 points from 2 games, you have a double head against Burkina Faso. Probably it's why Mitchell can be forced into prayer before a training session.
He was actually quite mad at me yesterday when I took those pictures. But onto the Azam Premier League, Maroons takes on, then a relegation battle, by the way, takes on Vipers. Vipers can go second. Maroons have only won 2 games this season. Could this be their 3rd game that they win, or can they confirm their status in the big league for next season?
2 good questions, though the second one appears to be more likely for a yes, affirming a position in the big league, although this is what Maroons wouldn't love to have. About 3 years ago, when I thought they did the right thing, when they decided to stay in one of the leagues when there were 2 parallel leagues, and eventually got relegated because they were not in good books with FUFA under such circumstances, they managed to win the big league last year and managed to return, but it's been quite a tough season for them, where they've managed to actually change faces at the touchline. Asaf Mweba's paving way for Padechintu, and still the story has remained the same. They are not winning games. I think they now should begin to worry, although they did win, I think, their previous game against Simba, where they did win by a goal to nil. Most of the games, teams have gone to Luzira, they've won, Maroons has gone away and offered 3 points to the host that they've met there. And when you're talking of Vipers, a team that has rested for quite some time, largely because there was the Mujetu Lumbe campaign of where selected players went to West Nile. There were some weekends where Vipers actually didn't play. Then remember there was also the CAF Champions League that they did have against Enyimba. And I think this year they should have played about 2 games here on the local scene, 2 or 3 games on the local scene. I think beating Sadolin, if I remember very well, 2-0, and then losing to Lueza 2-1. And I thought that's what threw the spanner into their works for trying to defend their title, because now they're 7 points adrift of the leaders who are KCCA. They've fallen into 4th position, but KC has played 19 games while Vipers has played 17. That means they have 2 games in hand. You get those 6 points, including the 3 against Maroons later on today, you probably could be into 2nd place, comfortably a point behind the men in yellow, Kasasiro boys.
Bull against Police, what are these guys playing for? It's not a mid-table clash, because Bull is not exactly in the middle, because I think they lie 11th and I think Police stand 7th. So what's there to play for? Pride?
Not actually pride, but because the stature of the league has been that if a team does win 3 games in a row, you could afford to move from 10th position to 4th. If your team goes and wins 3 games in a row, with all the other results, of course, working in your favor, you can afford to move those different positions. If you remember, URL were about in 6th place or so. When they took 7 points out of a possible 9, they are now into the top 3. You know, it was the same story for Express at some stage. And you see, when everyone else thought KCCA had fled off, probably running to the title, all these other teams are still close. Vipers has 2 games in hand, so it's the same story here. When Bull hosts Police, Police, I think they're the ones that did lose to JMC Hippos, if I remember very well. I think JMC Hippos of Sowana in the previous game, 3-2. And those are things you would love to see that should come out. Does Bull maintain their home advantage? Not many teams go to Jija and pick all the 3 points, including the big teams.
And the Barclays Kenya Open, just as you predicted it, we had 2 representatives, that's Biamukama and Ronaldo Chile. It wasn't the best of performances. You had predicted it that way, but why did it end up this way? And your prediction was spot on. Why?
About 5 days ago, when we sat here, and I said it was going to be tough for the pair to make the cut, to become the first Ugandans to make the cut at the Kenya Open, because the Kenya Open is the first event on the European Challenge Tour. And looking at these 2 golfers, Ronaldo Chile together with Vincent Biamukama, I felt for them, because 1, it was going to be a learning curve. 2, they were facing huge odds, because no Ugandan has ever made the cut. After 2 days of action, you're probably in the top 75, because here at the Karen Country Club, there were about 156 golfers who did play. And if you look at the results, where Sebastian Soderberg from Sweden managed to win the title after 4 rounds, finishing 18 under. Overall, I thought he was quite impressive right from day one. I think when he did take 5 under, returning a score of 67, together with that impressive amateur player. Because if you remember, there were only 2 foreign amateurs who were invited to the tournament. That was Romain Langasque from France, as well as Ronaldo Tile from Uganda. If you could see the difference between Romain Langasque and Ronaldo Tile, Romain finished in 2nd place, though he didn't take any money. He didn't take money because he's an amateur player, while Ronaldo Tile came in a distant 152nd position out of 156. And of course, it was quite expected for me. Other people will probably have hoped for a lot more, but I thought it was going to be a tough spell for him, for Tile. I've looked at him play golf this year at about 2 different tournaments. That is the Onito Memorial in Jinja, as well as the Toro Golf Open, where I thought he didn't have the spark he had last year. But towards the tournament, this one itself, the Kenya Open, I thought he picked up decently, because he returned 2 under. at the Lady Captain's Prize about a fortnight ago, and you thought he was getting into that frame, but sadly that didn't turn out for him. Same story for Vincent Byamukama, and often day one is the most important thing here. I thought when Otile returned 9 over, the story was done for him. If you've returned 9 over, you can't compete with a player who has returned a score of 1 under. You're not going to make the cut. That means you probably have to return a score of 60, which is quite difficult to finish the course in just one single down 12 under to probably have that opportunity. And that's what did happen there at the Karen Country Club in Nairobi.
And what are the chances of a Ugandan going to Spain, making the headlines, and of course, setting a record there, just as the Olympics are around the corner? That's Joshua Cheptegei. What are the chances that? How did he do it?
Rewriting the national record, because we are talking of the 10-kilometer race, and the 10-kilometer race is different from the 10,000 meters, because the 10,000 meters are on track, the 10-kilometer race is on road. And having broken the national record in the 10-kilometer race while winning the Grand Berlin Run last year in October, you thought Joshua Cheptegei was probably done, and that was the end of it for the 10-kilometer race. But he still rewrote the record, because on Sunday he managed to clock about 27 minutes and 45 seconds. That means he bettered his personal best by 5 seconds, as well as the national record itself that he had set last year while breaking Moses Kipsiro's record. And from that story, we now say Cheptegei has won 3 races in a row, if you look at the itinerary, because there, while he was winning the Villa Dolaredo 10-kilometer race on Saturday, it meant he had won 3 races in a row. That means he won in the Grand Berlin Run in October. He won the Nijmegen 15-kilometer road 7 Hills Run in Holland, and now he's won this one. He's begun off the year decently, and you may probably think the field was weak and so, but his time is actually decent, because if it is a national record and you're breaking the national record twice over the 10-kilometer race, as you gear up to the 10,000 meters at the Olympic Games, I think he's getting into that frame. Although whenever I think of the 10,000 meter race today, the first name that comes to me is Mo Farah. What is he going to do? Because he's the reigning double Olympic champion, 10,000, 5,000 meters. Although Cheptegei there, being his 3rd year, the international circuit, I think you still have to expect a lot, because I've seen him erase records done by Boniface Kiprop, records done by Moses Kipsiro himself, and he's into that line where I think, but just hang in there.
But we're talking Mo Farah here. Is it realistic to say he stands a chance?
Even his manager would tell you, Yuri van der Velden from Holland, that Joshua there, the 2014 World Junior 10,000 meter champion in Oregon, he probably can make a top 5, because at the World Championships in Beijing last year in August, he managed to finish a distant 9th, and I thought he ran well. That being his first year in the senior class, he ran well, finishing 9th. And these are things we've seen done by all these athletes. Before Stephen Kiprotich went on to win gold at the Moscow World Championships, at the 2011 edition in Daegu in South Korea, he finished 9th. Now 2 years later in Moscow, he finished 1st. That's where you begin from, because you need to probably make the first 10. Another year, your target is to make the top 5. And then 2 years later, probably by the time we get to Tokyo 2020,
think of a top podium finish.
We'll be talking of such a thing. And I think Cheptegei has a very good management, just like the one, because his managers are the same managers that did manage Haile Gabriel Selassie, the same managers that did manage Kenenisa Bekele from Ethiopia.
So we can't write him off, but onto the National Cricket League. Tornado B, 5 wins in 6 games. And my thoughts are they are playing catch up. Am I wrong or am I right?
You could be right, because in the past 3 years where they've managed to win 3 successive league titles, the story was it's other teams that would play the catch up game. By the time we would get to game number 6, Tornado B would be at the top, probably unbeaten, and other teams will probably have dropped about a game, another team will have probably dropped about 2. So you find Tornado B has a gap of about 5 points by game number 6. Now that's not the story this season. because challengers do still stay at the summit. They didn't play over the weekend, but they have 30 points. And now Tornado B was playing catch up when they went on to win Nile, beating them by 71 runs there, where I thought the day should have largely belonged to the 17-year-old Kenneth Waiswa, who did manage to take 6 wickets, having left the champions reeling at about 58 for 4. Eventually coming out of that hole with the players like Nicholas Keba, Davis Karashani managing to score the runs there for Tornado B. And even in the chase, Waiswa managed to pile about 56 runs off 33 balls, an unbeaten knock, although Nile still couldn't survive a third successive defeat there. But that's the story for Tornado B. I think they are going to play the catch-up game this season, unless challengers abnormally wither, who are the league leaders at this stage. I think Tornado B, they're going to give them a run for their money. This is probably going to be their longest season in 4 years.
T20 World Cup, Pakistan against New Zealand. Group 2, New Zealand the only unbeaten side there. Pakistan, today they have their A game. The next day, they don't quite turn up. You expect the New Zealand run to continue?
Well, it's quite tough because at this stage where we are in the Super 10, you suffer 2 defeats, you're denting your chances into the semi-finals, and it's why there's already talk that West Indies have probably made the semi-finals, because they did beat England, where Chris Gayle managed to score a century of 47 balls, as well as the other game that they did beat Sri Lanka on Sunday. And same story for New Zealand now as we speak, because they've won 2 games in a row. They beat India on day 1 unexpectedly, and then game 2 they managed to find their way past the side that is Australia, their neighbors down in the southern hemisphere, beating them by 8 runs. That was a close game there. And still, if their batsmen do turn up, especially Ken Williamson, who is not yet out of the blocks that well, having taken over captaincy from Brendan McCullum, and have players like Martin Guptill and Grant Elliott come and bat on a good day. Those men in green there from Pakistan are probably going to find it tough, but you probably give it to players like Said Ajmal, Muhammad Hafiz there, Shahid Afridi, their captain, to probably come and go against them and maybe make it a very decent game, just like probably the way yesterday Bangladesh made Australia work for that 3-wicket victory with about 9 balls to spare. So it's probably going to be a little more closer. I think Pakistan will need to fight for this one, because they'll need to make it 2 wins in 3, and probably that will be the same record for New Zealand, making their first defeat in 3 games.
European action now. The draws for the Champions League and Europa League were made on Friday. Spain, I'm combining both the Europa League and the Champions League. Spain, I think, has 6 teams in there. Germany has 2, England has 2. Recently, UEFA was thinking of revising the number of teams England can take into Europe. That's the Champions League. Maybe chop them off 1 and they take 3. Do they have the right to do so?
Well, of course, if you look at the performance of English teams in the UEFA Champions League and UEFA Europa League over the past 3 seasons, I think it's drastically gone down. What can you talk? Ever since Borussia Dortmund faced Bayern Munich in the final, that's where the story began, that has English football gone down on the European continent, because when Borussia Dortmund met Bayern Munich at Wembley in 2013, of course there is no other English team that has made it that far. And actually we are now talking that it's only Manchester City that's left in the Champions League, as well as Liverpool, who will be eliminated by Borussia Dortmund in the UEFA Europa League at the quarter-final stage, because I think Dortmund are one of the favourites, together the holders who are Sevilla. Sevilla facing a hard nut to crack in Athletic Bilbao. And now if you see that Man City are facing the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who don't have any pressure to do with the league, they already have the league in the bag. They're probably going to play cup tournaments. I think it's why they can afford to lose to Monaco 2-0. Their first home league defeat since May 2014 over the weekend. And now you begin to feel for Man City. I'm already feeling for Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool will go far. It will be a miracle for Klopp to eliminate his former team. And also here, there is a story for Barcelona. 9 years in a row making it to the quarter-final, they face Atletico Madrid. Quite a story there to tell, because Atletico is a team that did eliminate them at the same stage in 2014, if you remember, there. And for me, as if Barcelona go past Atletico, I think they're into another final. It's going to be difficult to eliminate. The only team that has a style of play that can eliminate Barcelona is Atletico Madrid. The others seem to be lopsided. Madrid advancing past Wolfsburg, as well as Bayern Munich eliminating Benfica.
Thank you, Darren. We'll leave it at that for this edition of Morning at NTV Sport. Now, Klopp has described it as a story only football can write. That's Liverpool against Dortmund in a couple of weeks' time. We'll leave it at that for this morning. Till tomorrow, have a good one.
This update was brought to you by Star Times.
Join us in a live broadcast of The Situation Room on Wednesday, 23rd March 2016 at 3 p.m. under the theme, Outlook for Multi-Party Democracy, Where is Uganda Headed? The venue is Makerere University Main Hall and the general public is invited. The Situation Room is supported by
Book your space at the biggest comedy show of the year. I am Kansime. Kampala's ribs shall crack as Ann Kansime brings the house down at Imperial Royal Hotel on Thursday, the 24th of March. Tickets are already on sale at 100,000 shillings, 3 million shillings for gold tables, and 5 million for platinum tables.
I am Kansime.
Yeah, you got it.
I am Kansime is proudly sponsored by Spark TV, C-Rock, SMS1, and 97 FM Radio City.
Brave woman. Well, I'm telling you, all the cases registered at the police station, Joe has filed them all.
Double check if you find there a name Del Suite, Aparecida de Sosa.
Del Suite?
Uh-huh.
I don't need to check. That's the case of the baby who disappeared from the tomb.
Is brought to you by
Radiant. Feel yourself.
Ooh, hey.
Tukwaniriza nnyo ku program mwase mutya eddakiika ziyiseeko 8 zokka ku ssaawa 3 mukibali kyonna kye mutandise okukakkalabya olwaliro ennaku z'omwezi lya 22 yes 22 ez'omwezi ogwokusatu nze Farida Nakazibwe leero olunaku lubeera lwa byabulamu aba Kampala Old Kampala Hospital wali opposite Old Kampala Police Station awo nga ku muzikiti wali omuzikiti omukadde balina iCamp kubanga ennaku z'omwezi 24 yes 24 genda kubeerawo ennaku 3 namba genda bakebera amaaso bakujjanjabe abeetaaga galubindi namwe bajja kuba bazibawa byonna ku bwereere temusubwawo omukisa ogwo eyemulugunya ku maaso go and have them checked ebyo ebintu ebijjawo omukisa tegubeera gwa lubeerera galubindi zitera kubaza bbeeyi genda bakebere kubasanga ng'ozeetaaga bajja kuba bazikuwa naye n'ekizibu ekirala naawe bajja kuba bazikuwa sijja kuwa bajjukiza ku kintu ekyo paka camp lwenaggwako mwasize mutya luli twayogera ku nsonga y'ekizaala ggumba methods zetukozesa abamwanyi n'ebibuuzo biyitirivu nnyo tetwasobola kubiddamu olwakadde akatugwako amangu leero Dr. Spire akomyewo agezeeko okuddamu ku bibuuzo ebyo twayogera ku methods nnyingi nnyo naye dokita wakubiriza nnyo abantu bajjumbira kaweta IUD wadde nga bamu ati temutera kaagala kuba ndowooza temukamanyi yagezaako tunnyonnyola advantages zaako n'ezitaliza nkoboze ku bantu
abatulaba nsanyusa okuddamu okubalaba nayitidde okuweebwa omukisa omulala okuddamu ebibuuzo kirabika waliwo ebibuuzo bingi ku nkola y'ekizaala ggumba so olwaleero tujja gezaako okulaba nga tuddamu ku bibuuzo abantu byebaweereza nsanyusa okubasanga n'okubalaba mwenabo
namubiri wano yabuuza kituufu akaweta kaleeta kansa ate ekirala obuweta buli bwa bika bimeka ekirala emikisa gy'okufuna olubuto giba emeka ku 100
Yes, ngabo nagamba waliwo myth nyingi. Myth ndowooza bye bintu ebitali bituufu. Abantu bye balowooza bikwata ku zino enkole z'ekizaala ggumba. Emu ku byo yeeyo abantu abasinga balowooza nti akaweta kaleeta kansa. Akaweta tekasooka kuleeta kansa era tekiri documented wantu wonna nti kaleeta kansa. In fact waliwo literature atubuulira nti akaweta kaziyiza ne kansa olusu lwa nnabaana. So si kituufu nti akaweta kaleeta kansa era abantu tekibalobera kukakozesa lwa nsonga ezo. Obuweta okusinga buli mu bika bya mirundi ebiri. Waliwo obukozesa copper nga kano ke nabalagako luli ke bayita copper iud. Kakozesa copper kuba copper ayina chemical eziyiza oba egaana obusimu bw'omusajja sperms okutambula. Ke kano ka copper iud ke tusinga okukozesa mu malwaliro. Kakola emyaka egigerera ddala 12.
Omulundi gumu.
Bw'okateeka mu kasolo genderera mpaka ku myaka 12. Between myaka 10-12. Naye
nsobola okukajjamu n'enkazi.
Bwanga sikukazaamu. Kano kennyini kojjeemu nedda.
Kaba kawedde.
Osobola okukajjamu weeyagalidde okufuna olubuto. Ekirungi kyako nti tekaziyiza magi. Omukyala waakajjamu tekimutwalira na bbanga kubanga asobola okufuna olubuto. Bw'aba ayagadde okukazaamu asobola okukazaamu obudde bwonna. So tekitegeeza nti bakateekamu kagenda kubeera myaka 12 nga
tugamba kano kennyini.
Tosobola kajjamu n'okazaamu bwe bakajjamu balina okuteekamu kalala. Kati ekyo kyekika ekimu ekyakaweta. Waliwo ekika ekirala kye tuyita milena. Milena weekali wano mu Uganda ne kawadde tekanakwettanirwa nnyo ko kabeeramu ekirungo kya progesterone, kabeeramu hormone. Kabeeyi kubanga kayinza okugenda mu sente esukka emitwalo 5. Kabeeyi naye kayina advantages ate nnyingi ezisinga kano. Tusinga ko kakola emyaka 5. Naye nga ennaku zino kabadde kasinga kubeera nnyo ku trial naye mu nsi zaakulaakulana ke basinga okukozesa. Wano
ndowooza ezirina methods ezirina hormones.
Kirungi kyako nti hormone eteekebwamu ekoma ku nnabaana wali mu lusu lwa nnabaana. Zino methods enda za hormone zetwogerako ziba zigenda mu musaayi. So bakakola nga doozi yaako eya hormone kagibirizinga mu musaayi mu lusu lwa nnabaana. So ako kayambako naddala abakyala bano aba bleeding ennyo. Waliwo abakyala mboteekamu akaweta kano ne kabanga batawanya mu kubleedinga. So bo bali recommendingira kufuna kali. Kakendeeza ddala bleeding. So gwe mugaso ogukirana nnyo okusinga ku kano ko kakola emyaka 5 weekali lwakuba nti kabeeyi. Bwebo byebika kano kalayisi kisinzira gy'olaze. Naye nga n'emitwalo 3 osobola kafuna nekubwerere kuba amalwaliro ga gavumenti gavugabira ki ne centers zino zonna ezikola family planning zikatera mu bwerere naye nga ne weba private center tera kususa mitwalo 5. Mpozi ekira kibuzo kyabuuziza chance z'okufuna olubuto. Akaweta ako kalina efficiency kazuulibwa nti okufuna olubuto si kyangu. Okujjako kisoboka naye nga si kyangu. Chances okufuna olubuto ziri less than 1%. Ku kikumi less than 1%. Oba olaba nti less than 1% ku bantu 10. Tetugamba nti tekisoboka. Kisoboka twali tukirabyeko naye nga chances ntono nnyo. Okujjako nga either bakateekamu bubi oba nga kayiseeko oba nga kaavaayo ng'omukyala takoze eki
oba nga bakakoonako ne bakaseetula.
Ekyo kaseetula tekiriyo kuba kabeera mu nnabaana. Omusajja tayingira mu nnabaana. So ekyo kyokaseetula si kituufu. Method eyo kateekamu yenkulu baba bakateeka walungi kiba kizibu nnyo. Naye mpozi njagala okwogerako nti senga omukyala aba afuniddeko olubuto ekisinga obukulu kumanya tukola mangu scan tumanya olubuto lulikola ki luli luddawa. Kubanga wasike scenario eyinza okuba nti olubuto luli mu nseke naye nga kino kiri soreya kubanga kaziyiza n'okukola ki n'okufuna ectopic olubuto lw'omu nseke. So abakyala batakozesa akaweta bebasinga n'okufuna embuto ezigenda mu ki mu nseke. So abakyala otera okuwulira bagamba embuto ezigenda mu nseke akaweta si bwe kiri.
Ono naye ekimu kyekuusa ku ekyo agamba what's the effect of copper IUD to the uterus? Copper bw'otunira copper kyuma. kakati ayinza okulooza kiyinza otalaga nga kindi mu
nedda kati akaweta kano pozi nja kuddamu nkabalage bwe kafaanana kabeera ka rubber bateekako small rounds of copper zibeera 380 rounds of copper naye bw'osunuulira oyinza n'obutakimanya nti kuliko ki copper ebeera chemical nga bw'omuziraba wano zino ze rounds of copper eziri side ne side ne wano wansi copper oyo kyakola mu lusu lwa nabaana nti akola kye tuyita chemical reaction. There is some sort of chemical reaction yaddira olusu lwa nabaana n'abanga lubeera mu mbeera nti spams teziri friendly kuba spams teziri friendly na copper teziyitawo zikomawo ne zikola ki negiri omukyala bwe liba nga lisobodde okutuukayo wansi terisobola kukola ki kusurvivinga mu environment eyo so copper kyakola akyusa environment ey'olusu lwa nabaana n'alufuula nti teruli friendly naye nga talina effect ntasobola kutalaga copper takola ki
wanga bw'otuulira wabeera moist all the time olowooza mbu buli akakikoonako kayinza okuvaako
surprisingly ne bwe tujjamu bw'obulaba after like 5 or 10 years bubeera still the what so ekyo tekirina effect.
Okay, waliwo navudde ku katono kwekyo agamba musawo okuvaamu amazzi nga gawunya n'okusiiyibwa mu bukyala so n'okuvaamu ebintu ebyekutte bulwadde kyobwo nabwo mu bujjanjaba.
Abakyala babeera ne discharges ez'enjawulo nyingi so kyetusinga okukubiriza of course waliwo discharges eziri clear ng'oli bwakuwa stall omanya nti kino kikusaako bwe kiti for example tutera okubabuuza bajja nti discharge eyo efaanana etya kala ya brown njeru ya green waliyo neya green oba nzirugavu bwebeera enzirugavu usually gubeera musaayi oguli altered oguludde mu nabaana so ekyo tumanya nti ayina bleeding somewhere naye maybe eri slow bwebeera nga gyetuyita cardod ebeera nga amata agekutudde amata agafudde yeri common esiiwa eringa amata agafudde omukyala describe n'okimanya nga kiri kiriyo yabeera candida
ate ewunya okufa
candida usually asiiwa ekisookera ddala osobola infection endala esiiwa naye asinga okuba common mu bakyala abalina embuto abakyala abakozesa antibiotics lina eddagala ejjanjaba infection for a long time abakyala abalina immunosuppression nga balina HIV nga tebali ku bujjanjabi so yasinga okuba common so kyadescribe nzo kifaananako nga candida ajjanjabwa era tekimusobera kugenda n'alaba omusawo olusi bwe kibanga bamuwadde eddagala nekigaana bamuggyako kasampa ak'amazzi ago ne bagakebera ne balabira ddala obuwuka omutawaanya naye ng'ebiseera ebisinga zibeera mixed infection bw'osanga nga alina infection nga 10 zonna ziri together so ezo infection ezitagenda nga bazijjanjabye ziba zeetaaga okukeberebwa waliwo ababeera na discharge ezo ng'ewunyanga ebyennyanja gye tuyita fishe eyo naye erina akawuka ketubuulira nti kano so ebiseera ebisinga omukyala bwakubuulira bumanya nti kirabika kino
waba empekete sikyamukolera nga yeetaaga banamukuba
siri sure nti ebiseera ebisinga discharges zikwata abakyala tezeetaaga kuba mpiso ate ekirungi nti ezisinga obungi zibeera treated bazijjanjaba lokale n'amakerenda ag'okusonsekayo ziba nnyangu nnyo zakujjanjaba naye bw'olaba nga discharge tegenda era kiba kitegeeza ojjanjabe bubi oba kyojjanjaba sikituufu so bwetaawo ogenda ew'omusawo
abamu kasitaafu n'okusiibwa ng'agenderawo ku famasi
ebansobi kubanga okusiibwa si kwa candida yekka waliwo ne infections endala ezireeta okusiibwa waliwo kye tuyita trichomonas eri common mu bakyala basobola baba balina omuwa amakerenda amalala agatali ga candida so kiba kirungi ne bagenda ne babakeberako okusinga okukozesa kye tuyita off the counter mpaayo kano si kirungi.
Okay, ono Hamza agamba doctor again talk about the after sex pills.
After sex pills abamu ze bayita morning after pills oba emergency pills tulina ebika bingi ku market naye ng'ekisinga okuba common ndoza abakyala gye basinga okwettanira ye postina morning after pills ekintu ekyo kiri so controversial olw'ensonga nti abakyala abasinga bazifuula family planning method nti buli bweyegatta bayita nazo mu nsawo bazistalking ewaka ekitali kituufu. Morning after pill enakozesebwa mu mbeera zekusaako bwezi. Tekisooka tugikozesa nga omukyala afunye tututa unwanted intercourse ng'abadde teyeetegese kukola ki kwegatta na musajja naye saa nga yeegase n'omusajja mu biseera ebyaki ebitali safe. Embeera ey'okubiri nti senga omukyala akwatibwa abeera raped, defilement, rape, nga tetwagala afune lubuto okuva mu kikolwa ekyo, then tumuwa protection yeyo within 72 hours. Senga omukyala afuna poor use of family planning methods, okugeza senga omukyala ameesinga pills emirundi 3, senga omukyala oba IUD evaayo, senga kondomu ekola ki eyabika, senga afuna any failure mu family planning method tugiyitanga backup, asobola okukozesa then naddayo n'akola ki. So nkubiriza abakyala nti temukozesa morning after pills oba emergency pills nga family planning method, bazikozese as an emergency. Ate emergency toyinza kufuna emergency leero n'ofuna emergency enkya n'ogifuna wiiki ejja
nebwebeera ya every week.
So kiba tekyali emergency kasita weesanga oli mu mbeera ey'okuba nti okozesa nnyo emergency contraceptive, kiba kitegeeza weetaaga permanent method of family planning. Kitegeeza naye nga inogikozesa within 72 hours kiba better ogikozesa immediately.
Eyinza okurekerawo okubeera effective kubanga ogikozesa muddingano.
Tegaana kuba effective naye of course erina alterations, engeri erina high dose eya hormone bagiteekamu high dose eya hormone nti ekolerawo, so oluusi kya affecting cycle y'omukyala, bleeding efaana bwe bityo, naye nga generally sijja ku recommending abakyala kugikozesa bo bakiraba nti kyangu okusinga okubeera ku pills buli lunaku naye nga idealist buli kibo kirina okuba.
Okay, tuteeko wali kaweta katono. Bw'oba wakoma okulwala sisobola kussaamu kaweta nga nziiza okufuna kansa nga yakoma okulwala means takyafuna lubuto.
Suubira kyagezaako okugamba nti bw'abanga ali menopause abakyala abalekayo okulwala oba twogera ku mukyala ali menopause oba yakoma okulwala ye mukyala amaze emyezi 6 egiddiringana atagenda mu period. Usually emyaka gikyuka naye kitera kubaawo kuva ku myaka abamu batandika ku myaka 45 abatandika ale waliwo ne betwayitula batandika ku myaka 35 naye emyaka 45 mpaka myaka at least 55 average ya Uganda. So abakyala abo okugamba nti atakomye okulwala alina okuba nga amaze emyezi 6 consecutively nga takola ki nga talwala. Oluusi tukebera ne hormones mu musaayi ne tukakasiza ddala nti omukyala agenze mu period ya menopause. So omukyala bw'oba okyalinamu irregular n'omisinga emyezi 2 n'olwalayo gumu osobola okufuna olubuto. Naye ekibuuzo kyabuuziza kyekuusaako ku kansa nti yes bw'oba olina risk eya kansa ow'olususu lwa nnabaana, olususu lwa nnabaana lwenjogerako lwe luno lwe lususu lwa nnabaana, olwo abakyala ababeera ne risk ey'okufuna kansa w'olususu lwa nnabaana gwe tuyita endometrial cancer. Abakyala abali mu famire nga mulimu kansa oyo, sisita wo maama we yali afunyeko kansa w'olususu lwa nnabaana, olususu lwa nnabaana lwero. Abakyala abanene nnyo kilo 10 okweyongerayo babeera ne risks ezo. Omukyala abamu abalina kansa w'amabeere oba baali baddeko ne kansa w'amabeere mu famire babeera ne risk era efuna kansa w'olususu lwa nnabaana. Abakyala abalina gye tuyita polycystic ovaries, abakyala abalina cysts ennyingi, abalina condition eyo kati bakimanyi bakitegedde kubanga si bizimba saaki naye mubeeramu obuzimba obubeera ku ovary ku nsigo y'omukyala ekola amagi. Ebiseera ebisinga abakyala batera nnyo okufuna obuzibu n'okufuna embuto ne period zaabwe zibeera irregular. Kati abakyala ababeera ne polycystic ovary disease be bamu ku balina risk ey'okufuna kansa w'olususu lwaki, so tubabuulira. So abakyala basobola bateekamu akaweta kali ke nayogeddeko akamire nasi kano
kali akebbeeyi
kali akalimu hormone eri kuba baba balina ekirungo kya estrogen nga mungi. Ekimu n'abakyala abanene kilo 10 okweyongera babeera n'ekirungo kye bayita estrogen nga kingi. Kyekikola kiddira olususu lwa nnabaana olwo ne kirugezza constantly nubera nga lunene so lubera risk ya cancer olusu lwa n'abaana kati abo tubateekamu kali akalina hormone eri ekendeza olusu lwaki
ne bwaba akyali mu childbearing age era tumuteekamu
usually risk ya cancer wa n'abaana ajja bit late ebeera constant exposure kweyo estrogen tuogeddeko nti batandika risk etandikira myaka 40 n'okudda waggulu so tubalikomebwa abantu basobola okuzaala abaana ne bamala omanyina okubeera olubuto okufuna embuto nayo method y'okureducinga chances okufuna cancer
kweli
yeah of course
abalina abazadde abaana batono balina risk nene okufuna cancer dana
banga balina risks endala zetwogeddeko baba balina risk kubanga watogera ofunye olubuto kiba kitegeeza buli kaseera gobeera exposed n'abaana bebeera exposed to hormones naye omukyala alina olubuto abeera ne break ya 9 months so ezo zimu ku advantage kandi abakyala bazaala nnyo naye mu ku advantages ezo so kisobola okwaka tubateekamu akaweta kali kabayambako abamu tubawa ne pills
naye ng'ono ali ku mulamu agambye bwe mba nga sikyazaala
bw'abanga takyazaala nga alina ne risk ya cancer basobola omuteekamu kali ka milina naye bw'abanga takyazaala I mean nga takyagenda mu period nga si risk ya cancer ate tuba tumuteekamu kaki kuba kaba kakuziiza lubuto.
Okay. Waliwo wanagamba doctor talk about the 1 month pill oba yeri
yes waliwo pill yajja ku market pill eyo okusinga yaleetebwa abachina abakyala ennaku zino bajogerako nnyo buli bwajja mu ddwaliro nze njagala kali ako omwezi ogwo mira lumu omwezi
kalinganga wotulaba zino ezaffiza
every day naye akamira lumu omwezi ne kabanga yes kali effective mu preventing a pregnancy naye challenge tuyina ne simanyi oba kali even authorized sirowooza nti kali mu mateeka ga Uganda kakkirizibwa okubeera ku market ekisooka kuba kalina ekirungo kya estrogen ekirungo ekyo tuyita estrogen kiri mu doozi y'amaanyi nnyo ate nga pills zonna ezikozesebwa ziri recommended ne health standards zirina okuba ne doses ya hormones ezo ng'eri so low okupreventing effect zino zetwogeddeko eza pressure eza bleeding weight gain clots so kalina ekirungo kya estrogen mungi kimu kye twakalabako nti yadde abakyala kabayamba convenience it's about convenience kiri convenience nti mira lumu naye nga effects eza hormone eyo eri high zetwogeddeko wano ezimu ku zo ezizimbye olusu lwa n'abaana abalala batera okujja n'agamba sikya bleedinga sikyasobola kufuna olwokuba hormone eri high kasobola okukola weight changes olwokuba buli kyolowooza kyonna ekiri ku high hormone kubanga problem za hormone zino methods zino zetwogerako ezisinga nti zijja lwakuba hormone omuntu akikozeseza ebbanga ppanvu obanga hormone eri mu doozi yaki y'amaanyi so sirikommendinga nnyo bakyala kozesa kantu ako kyova olaba nti ne mu guidelines zaffe za Uganda hormone methods zetukozesa tekalimu era abakatunda toyinza genda mu ddwaliro n'okafuna kalina okuba kali ku black market naye nga si ka recommending abakyala kakozesa yes convenience wano okakozesa kakuyamba ka stopping olubuto kali perfect mu stopping olubuto naye future side effect ziba nnungi
abakamira bakamira batya wokamira ku 15th era ina kamera ku 15th paka oba ne bwomira ku 3rd
kati umanye enkozesa ya pills zino na abakyala basinga tebamanyi engeri gye balina kuzikozesa naye pills zonna obaako baki oba olina okuzikozesa on the first time mu nnaku zino ezisooka nga wakava mu period kubanga twagala ku making sure nti tolina lubuto ekisooka ekyokubiri nti tolinaanye ku lunaku luli olusuulibwa eggi so kiba kirungi kutandika pills makkati ga cycle tekiba kirungi kutandika pills nga wakamala okuva mu ovulation so pills zetaaga kutandika wano olwala omala kulwala mwezi newayita ennaku nga 2 oba n'otandikira ddala ku olwenyina olwadde bwe zirina okukozesebwa
lwendwadde lwentandika
kati awo obeera olina control over your cycle n'obala bulungi ne risks ezo ez'obutafuna lubuto omanyi tukulikomendinga abakyala ogenda okukebeza olubuto nga tannakozesa method yonna naye olubuto lubeera detected mu musulo nga wayisa olunaku 14. So engeri yokka ey'okumanya nti olina lubuto kuba nti walwadde omwezi.
Abakyala baleka bangi abakakozesa nze mbadde sikamanyi.
Kali naye kali bit dangerous.
Abalala abalinga bana abakyabuuza ku safe days. Tukakase jjamu otujjukize tangaaze ku safe days kuba abamu balowooza ze engeri ezimu ze zitalina side effects.
Yes, kituufu safe days ye the Twitter natural method yemu ku nkola ya natural methods zimwe ziri of course zina almost 100% efficiency and zitalina side effects z'amaanyi ng'ogyeko of course okuba nti tezizi omuntu wabanga alina obulwadde HIV STDs tewali method ekola kyokujjako ya condoms. So safe method nungi naye olina okuba nga twayogerako olulimi tugamba nti abantu balina okuba trained. Safe methods zetwogerako zeziriwa mwemuli eya abstinence esookera ddala mwemuli ey'okubala ennaku mwemuli ey'okukozesa signs ezo okulaba mukyala amazzi gafaanana gatya n'amanya nti kati ndi mufertile days mwemuli eya withdraw. So ezo methods naye zino ez'okubala ennaku kiba kyetaaga ekisooka ng'abantu balina obukugu. Omuntu alina okusooka n'ayiga obukugu cycle yange efaanana etya. Olina okusooka okubala cycle 3 nga tolina nakulowooza kugikozesa. Cycle 3 ez'omudiringa n'ozibala bulungi n'omanya nti ziri wakati wa zifaanagana tezikyukakyuka ziri wakati w'ennaku 28 ku 32. Bw'ebanga cycle yo mpanvu nnyo totawaana. Bw'ebanga cycle yo nnyimpi nnyo
nawe totawaana.
Abaana balina cycle eri wansi ennaku 21 abantu abasobola okufuna embuto nga yegasi nga abasobola okufuna olubuto wano nga bakava mu period obanga ali mu period. So abo tebakola ki tebakkirizibwa kukozesa method eyo naye bw'obanga ennaku zo ziri clear ozibaza emyezi 3 n'omanya nti cycle yange eri regular tekyukakyuka then osobola okukozesa engeri y'okubalamu ennaku tuzibala tutya usually ekyangu tugamba nti cycle yo eba regular oyina okubala ennaku 9
okuba lwotandise si lwovuddemu lwotandika period always ebeera day 1 so olina okubala ennaku 9 okuva ku olwo kati ennaku ezo ziri okuva ku 9 mpaka ku 2 ezo teziba ki safe kuva ku 9
okuva ku lunaku olw'omwenda
10
mpaka ku lunaku olwabiri usually tugamba ezo zeesonyiwe. Kozesa backup method, kozesa abstinence, kozesa withdraw ebyo faana bwe bityo. Then week emu before nga tonnaba kudda mu period. Saba mutu bagamba kakozesa either week emu nga okuva lwotandise week emu before nga tonnakola ki nga tonnaddamu okubeera effective. Twajjukira nti ekintu kino kiri best kuba nti sperms omusajja zimala mu mukyala at least ekitono ennyo ennaku 5
nga ziri omwezi gazanya
nga zirinze zirinze ejjiriri ate amagi g'omukazi gamala mu mubiri gw'omukyala ennaku 2 that is 48 hours gonga bwe gatasanga sperm ya musajja agafa. So kati bintu bino netwogera byekuusaako ekyo n'ekyokubiri okumanya nti ovulation okusuulibwa eggi kubeera ku lunaku olw'14 okuva omukyala lwagenzeemu abala ennaku 14 ku lunaku olw'14 bw'aba asuula ki eggi olw'okuba nti eggi limala mubiri ennaku 2 tumwongera namugamba abala ennaku endala 2 mu maaso
awo ng'okola
anti kati omanyi kati kino ekintu okyogera mu mirundi ebiri kuziiza kufuna lubuto olwo ne betuga abaagala ennyo okufuna lubuto tubagamba bakozesa kye bayita timed sexual intercourse balina okumanya ennaku ki lwensobola okufunamu olubuto kati waliwo bano abaagala okuziiza ate waliwo abali abafa okukola ki
okufuna
okufuna omwami wajja lumu omwezi
ono ayisawo ennaku 2 ng'eggi limaze okugwa ayagala kufuna
naye ate era kiyamba n'ono aziyiza okumanya ennaku ezo omanyi nti omukyala bw'abeera nga asuula eggi sayini aba azikola ki aziwulira.
Twagamba ofuna ka sharp pain.
Asobola ofuna pain gye tuyita ovulation pain. Abamu nebeera pain y'amaanyi nga yeetaaga okumira eddagala. Abalala amazzi g'ekikyala vaginal mucus gabeera mangi, gabeera thin, gabeera watery. So eyo sign endala abakyala gye bakozesa abamu ate ziri effective ku mukyala gabeera mangi ate gabeera thin.
Gabeera thick kyekibaawo.
Omanyi omukyala bw'aba nga yeegendereza bw'aba nga yakava mu period n'akebera amazzi vaginal mucus erina okuba thick, gabeera makwafu mpaka ku lunaku ng'olw'ekkumi ne gatandika okukyusa ne gabeera nga ga mazzi. Omulamwa guli gumu nti gaba galinze kuwaamu aganya sperm zino ziswiminge. Sperm tesobola kuswiminga mu mazzi agali thick. Kyova olaba nti method zino zonna ze tukozesa empiso kano ke bateeka wano pills ekimu ku bintu kyebikola kwe kumakinga amazzi gali ofuuka ki nga makwafu. Era kyova olaba olukitawaanya n'abakyala nga beegatta ti amazzi makwafu. Sperm zireme kuswiminga.
Kana akakodyo ka pain bwejja bweti omukyala anoonya olubuto bwetaase mangu.
Pain eyo naye si buli omu nti agiwulira.
Naye jjukira obeera mu pain ate ng'oddamu kwetaasa.
So therezimu ku sides.
Soka tuwumulamu katono tovaayo. Abalina ebibuuzo ebirala osobola okgenda ku 6565 n'oteekako tujja kuba tubifuna nga tunnabakomekkereza. Programu eno tubeerabirira tuline ku Spark TV ate alina DSTV sawa nosobola okutuninga en n'otufuna butereevu. Temuvaawo.
Make some cash, just dial *185#.
Amanya mpitwa kyateekera bulungu nga nsangibwa Katwe. Soko okuwa abali ku Airtel Money amaanyi. Mutekeko Airtel Money mwewoleyo sente muwangule. Nganzi amagezi ge nakozesezza sente zennonze ziri 6,408. Kati nkubiriza abantu mwenna mugende ku Airtel Money musobole okujjayo nammwe sente.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
You know what they say about girls. Who cries more? Girls. Who does the chores? Girls. Who's the shopaholic? Girls. Who's all about selfies? Girls. Who brings the drama? Girls. But we want to show you our real world, where we're more than just girls. Introducing Spark TV, the first female channel in Uganda, made for you to bring out the best in you. Spark TV, it's your time.
Join us in a live broadcast of the Situation Room on Wednesday, 23rd March 2016 at 3 p.m. under the theme, Outlook for Multi-Party Democracy, Where is Uganda Headed? The venue is Makerere University Main Hall and the general public is invited. The Situation Room is supported by
You have the nerve to confess that you were the one who killed my sister!
Bro, listen to me. Listen, we're all very upset with the news, but please don't talk that kind of nonsense.
It isn't nonsense, Emilio! It's all your fault! It's all because of you! Because of you, I couldn't say goodbye to my sister! You're responsible for all the tragedies that happened in my family!
Okay, no problem.
All right. Okay.
Balenye kwekumira ku NTV tuline Dr. Spire Kigondo musawo w'abakyala. Omwami wano abuuza ekibuuzo bwe tuba twegatta nga nsooka kuyonka ku mabeere ga mukyala wa kina gye kikwataganamu n'ekyomwana kye wagambye nozagamba kiri wagamba omukyala ayo omukyala ayonsa tafuna lubuto ayonsa consistently tafuna lubuto sebo gwe tolina omukyala w'omuyonka taba na mabeere.
Of course tekirina we kikwataganira. Sirowooza nti waliyo omusajja ayonka exclusively. Tukiyita exclusive breastfeeding gye bayita breastfeeding on demand. Nti omukyala ayonsa asobola okukikosa nga family planning method. Senga aba ayonsa nga full time. Misana kiro buli kaseera omwana wakoze ki? Wayagadde ebbeere kye tuyita breastfeeding on demand. Kati sirowooza nti omusajja oyo breastfeeding on demand every after 30 minutes. Yo si method ya family.
Okay, wano. Hello doctor, I used pills before and changed my menstrual cycle. I menstruate 2 times a year. Can I take pills like I was told to help my hormonal balance?
Story ogiwulira omukyala kyagezaako okugamba nti mu mwaka agenda mu mwezi mu nsonga emirundi 2 mu mwaka.
Naye yasooka kozesa pills.
Yasooka kozesa pills oba abuuza asobola kozesa pills okuba nti
I used pills before and changed my menstrual cycle. Yasooka zikozesa. Kati abuuza waliwo ndowooza bamugamba olina z'osobola okumira ne zitereeza cycle yo.
Well, ayina ebintu byatatubuulidde. Ekisooka tatubuulidde emyaka gy'alina. Ekyokubiri tatubuulidde oba alinayo omwana. Ekyokusatu tatubuulidde periods ze zaali zitya nga tannakutandika kozesa ki? Pills. Ayina ekirala tatubuulidde ebbanga kiri akozesezza pills. Naye nga omukyala oyo clearly alina problem. Kyalina okumanya nti pills size zaamuleetera okukola ki? Okuba nti periods ziri regular. Pills tezina, in fact pills ziri so efficient nti zitakinga control ku cycle y'omukyala. Omukyala waba azikozesa ne bwabanga abadde bleeding n'akozesa pills era olaba nti waba azimira abeera ta bleeding oluzimala bw'ati n'alyoka bleeding kuba zirina that pill free interval ebbanga eryo lyoba nga tomira oba lyomirirako buli obukerendo bwa iron, so zicontrollinga cycle bulungi, so tezisobola kuleeta kumisinga period pills okujjaho ng'okozesezza ziri ze twayogeddeko eri emu gye bamira omwezi erina obuzibu, naye nga pills neza bulijjo balanced pills tezirina ki problem eyo. Ate omukyala bw'aba afuna period emirundi 2 omwaka clear omukyala oyo alina hormone imbalance, alina problem ku ovary. Omanyi ovary eringanga essaawa y'omukyala ye muraninga ye muyamba okuba nti ye clockinga kati ku budde buno olina okulwala kwegambe erina hormone ye producing hormone ezaala hormone eziyamba omukyala okuba nti abeera ennaku 21 oba 27 nga talwadde n'alwala ennaku oba 10 oba 3 oba 4 abeera ovary. So kasobola aba omukyala buli bw'olabanga period zo nga zitandise okufuuka tezitegerekeka, waliwo period ezikyuka not so frequent oba oluusi mwezi gumu n'atagulwala n'omisingayo gumu, ekyo kiri okay kubanga waliwo factors nyingi, psychological factors ezikyusa period z'abakyala. Naye kasita kisukka emyezi 2 nga period zo teziri consistent omanya nti waliwo ki problem, genda w'omusawo, genda wa gynecologist bakuggyeko omusaayi batestinge hormone zo. Nsuspecting nti omukyalo yayinza okuba alina ekirungo kye bayita prolactin, kiri ekyamabeere kye twayogerako, tayonsa yes talina mwana maybe, naye ekirungo ekyo oluusi kibeera nga kingi mu bakyala. Abakyala abamala ebbanga ddene tebafuna periods, ebiseera ebisinga babeera either ne tumor mu mutwe, ekizimba ku bwongo ekizaala excess hormone eyo, tatubuulidde amabeere ge oba nago gamutawaanya, ebiseera ebisinga osanga n'amabeere gavaamu amazzi gazimba gamuluma, ekirungo kiri ekya prolactin kibeera waggulu, era abamu osanga tubaweereza ne neurosurgeon ne babalongoosa okubajjamu ekizimba ekyo, so yeetaaga okuinvestigatinga bulungi nnyo. Teba kansa naye nga waliwo akatundu ku bwongo akazaala hormone eyo oluusi kafuna ekizimba, era abakyala oluusi osanga balina problems endala, headache, omutwe gubaluma, amaaso tegalaba bulungi, so takitwala lightly. Agende omusawo bamukebere bulungi hormones, oba ayinza okuba ekirala ekiri common naye kiri unlikely nti alina kye tuyita polycystic ovary. nti alina obuzimba bungi ku nsigo ze. So kituufu abasawo bamuwako gundi pills naye bajjanja baki balina okuba balina obuzimba obwo buyinza obutavaako naye tusobola obumanipulating okubuwa eddagala omukyala naaba nga asobola period okutereera
nebugaana okugejja.
Naye ate ekirala ekikulu ekiriwo nti omukyala oyo kati ayogera alabika at the moment problem yesi yakuzaala naye ajja kutuuka ekiseera ng'ate problem nga tafuna ki atafuna lubuto. So yandigende ne bakikebera mangu ne bakebera hormone ne balaba kiki ekimutawaanya ne bamubuulira clear plan okusinga ogenda mu ddwaliro bamuweeyo obukerenda yes pills isobola okutereezaamu naye si enkomeredde.
Okay. Dr. Nze Julian nina emyaka 31 bankomye okuzaala basala buseke naye kati nfuna ebbugumu lingi mu mubiri ne weight yeeyongera ku speed nkole ki? Lwaki bamukomye okuzaala ku myaka egyo?
Agamba emyaka emeka?
31.
Tatubulidde ensonga naye omanyi okukomya omukyala okuzaala kiyinza okuba out of choice ayinza okuba yasalawo. Abantu abakyala bamu ennaku zino batandika ku myaka 15 kufuna embuto. Abakyala abasinga majority ennaku zino betulaba agenda okuweza emyaka 35 oba 32 nga alina abaana 4 kitegeeza yatandika ki ale. So eyo yensonga muyinza okuba out of choice
oba nga alina ekizibu.
Ensonga eyokubiri ayinza okuba yafuna omutawaana oba nabaana neyabika enseke ne bazikola ki nabaana oba ne bamugamba walina okubaawo issue bwebanga teyali choice walina okubaawo problem naye nga of course age yerabika ekyali bit ale okujjako kino kyayogedde
ebbugumu eringi ne weight.
Kakati omukyalo oyo mbadde njagala nnyo senga atuwadde history esingaka
ojja muwa enamba yo
kubanga kindabikira okuba nti omukyalo oyo yafuna ayinza okuba yafuna omutawaana ne bamutwala mu ddwaliro ne bajjamu oba nabaana n'enseke ne ovary kubanga ekintu kyayogerako kirabika ali mu mbeera ya menopause. Babeera ne tuyita hot flashes bayiikibwa ebbugumu olw'okuba nti ovary tezikyakola ekirungo kiri ekya estrogen ekiyamba omukyala okuba ng'ali mukyala alwala olususu lungi memory nungi biki byonna byonna ebeera ovary. Kati omukyala oyo andabikira nti baleka yagenda mu ddwaliro ng'afunye omutawaana either nabaana ne bamugjamu oba ne ovary ne bazijjamu ekitali common. So watandika okugamba ebbugumu yeetaaga agende bamukebere bulungi balaba ovary mweziri kuba testing hormones balaba oba zimala abo bajja okuva bamuyambe naye nga bwekuba nti kusiba buseke senga bamusiba obuseke bulungi kuba baba bakusiba obuseke basobola obusiba ng'ozadde n'osayininga nti nze kati nina enkindo 3 luno olukindo lwakuna obuseke babusibe
mbikoye
then ekyo tekyaffectinga tekirina bwe kikwatakanira nakufuna bbugumu lingi nabino ebirala byagamba wasobola okusiba obuseke mu wiiki emu omukyala ng'azadde bulungi atali wakusala era still tekirina bwe kikwatakanira naki. So ndowooza nti yeetaaga okwetegereza.
Okay. Waliwo wano omukyala buuza about pills if I miss one we missing pills years buli lunaku.
Twakyogerako luli ne tugamba nti majority abakyala tebamanyi kukozesa pills. Abakyala tebamanyi kukola ki okukozesa pills. Nina nayise ne some pills mbadde njagala akati pills zibeera bweziti. Pills zino ekisookera ddala tuzikozesa nayogedde kuba nti no bw'oba otandika okozesa pills olina okutandika ozikozesa olunaku olusooka ng'olwadde ba tulina okufuna evidence tolina olubuto kati olunaku olusooka ng'olwadde best time okutandika pills. So bw'oba ozimira cycle ekirungi kyazo nti cycle ne bwebanga nyimpi oba mpanvu zo tezigaana kasoba nga otandise bulungi nga period yakatandika kati olina okumira piru emu buli lunaku era bw'oba ozitunuulira bakulaga kuliko arrows ezikulaga nti bw'oba ova eno nodda booti bw'otuuka wano nokkirira bw'otuuka wano nokkirira bw'otuuka wano n'otandika buno bumyufu obulaba buno bumyufu abeera iron iron yazaamu musaayi n'okuzaamu musaayi abakyala abasinga bableedinga between 1 day paka ku nnaku 7 kyova bateekako bukerenda 7 average ya bleeding abasinga obungi yetera kuba nnaku 3-4 oba 5 naye abamu bagenda ennaku 7 so buno bukerenda obumyufu bobuzambuza musaayi woluzinze on average omukyala aluzinga miruzi 3.5 so iron gwe bateeka muno wakuyamba abakyala buno aba bleeding ennyo n'atenga n'ofuuka dizzy so ensonga ya lwaki bakozesa this iron ekyokubiri buno obukerenda obweru buno obuli waggulu ze zino hormones obwa white ze hormones zokka so omukyala bw'aba amira ino kimanya nti bw'aba amira white awo ali mu kumira hormones bw'aba atuuse no wansi in fact bw'amalayo wano usually kinavudde nga nti bucontrolling a cycle olumalayo kano akeeru atandika okubleeding kyobola nti abamu babukozesa
naye tokoowa ne buno obumira kate bwe mbanze nina omusaayi gwange nga nkwekakasa mmanyi nti omubiri gwange gulina omusaayi nkola ki
oba ogenda kuloozinga
nenkoma ku bwa white aka white bwe kakoma nendeka ono brown nesimumira nengenda straight kokubiri
buli drop y'omusaayi gy'oluuzinga ebeera important era kyobola abakyala tubagamba nti bw'okozesa method nga zino eza injection nota bleeding it's okay obeera togenda kuddamu kuluuzinga musaayi quality of life improving kati bw'omisinga piru emu omanyi piru zino ino zimina obudde bwe bumu okuyamba okujjukira memory nti bwemba oba ngenda kwebaka nga mmira bwemba oba ngenda kulya nga mmira you attach it to something noba nga osobola okujjukira kasi omisinga period piru emu ddamu omire bw'ojjukidde amangu bw'ojjukira emisana mira kali ke wamisinze then continuing nga bw'obadde olina
bwenkamira emisana for example nzijukidde essaawa nnyo ogw'okumakya mira then n'ekiro nga ngenda kwebaka nziremu that is two for one day
oddemu omire nga bwewadde omira routine yo bw'omisinga bubiri era mira immediately bw'wamisinze oddemu omire
mire bumire kati wenzijukira mire bubiri
then oddemu omire kali nga bwewadde omira
that
of course hormone level increasing ne bwatera okuvomitinga nausea mungi olwa estrogen naye bw'omisinga busatu kozesa backup
morning after
morning after eteba accident okujjako nga weegasse nga weerabidde nti badde tomira backup ebeera either you abstain bw'omisinga obuntu busatu tekitegeeza nti obiveeko bw'omisinga obuntu busatu funa either condom backup method oba abstain oleme kwegatta mu bbanga eryo ery'okumala week number naye ate nga ozeemu okumira
ntandikira waliwo enakoma
week number ngaokozesa backup onoolya okudda
ogambye bwe misinga obubiri wenzijukirira wonna mmire ebbiri naye n'ekiro nga routine bwebadde
okontinuing routine yo
bwemisinga obusatu neweemu gap
bw'omisinga obusatu then cover teriiwo bw'oba weegase n'omusajja nga wamisinze obuntu busatu
weekabiri
oba okyalina remedy osobola okukozesa morning after pill oba naye buno bwennyina busobola okukola ki nga emergency bw'oba omize nga buna omulundi gumu kuba situkirecommending gwera ne hormone nyingi buna buziizi naye okuba nti buleeta side effects nyingi ez'okusesema
kale simu tuziggudewo osobola okuba noteesa oba nobuuza ekibuuzo kyonna kyeyagala ewa dokita
naye mpozi nga tonnaba kugenda ku ekyo kintu kitono kyembadde njagala okwogera ku piruzi zino nti piruzi zino zirimu ebika kati zino piruzi zezikozesebwa abakyala abatali pregnant omayimini abatayonsa naye waliwo pills eza breastfeeding women zibayita mini pills ezo zo zibeeramu ekirungo kyeddagala limu ate mu kadoozi katono kuba twagala kitawaanya amabeere ati omukyala waba omira morning after pill ate yo nzibu nnyo
yetawaanya amabeere
tetawaanya mabeere naye nzibu nnyo nti bwoba ogimiisinze yo tekolanga bino
ekola etya
kati omukyala bwoba oli breastfeeding oyonsa ne bakuteeka ku pills tegeera nti pills zebakutaddeko zebayita mini pills ezitali zino tebalina kuwa zino kuba zino tezikirizibwa naye kali kapiiru kabeeramu ekirungo ky'eddagala kitono nti imagine yofuna olubuto nnene so ko tekamiisingibwa era omukyala bwakamiisinga tewali bino byakumira ate jjukira oddemu omire oba omira bbiri bye twogeddeko tebyapplying
asooka abstaining
so abakyala balina okimanya ba breastfeeding category special
abstaining for example yewadde nga wiiki oba mwezi
oba nakozesa barrier nga kondo
kati awo bw'aba akomyewo afune kapya oba atandikire we yakoma
okukita oba still n'amira wiiki namba ng'akozesa barrier n'alyoka akola ki oba n'alinda sayika ey'okubiri bo buyina magini ya era nnene nti eddagala ttono naye buno bwo eddagala bateeka mulingi.
Okay. Esimu tuziguddewo teweerabira kuba. How safe is vasectomy for my husband? He is willing but fears its effects.
Abasajja finally. Omanya abasajja tuli less privileged nti method za family planning ezisinga bazodoptinga ku bakyala.
Kuba nammwe era baakiraba nti temutera zzaagala. Nga mulina empaka.
Of course, ennaku zino twadvocatinga nnyo ekintu kye bayita male involvement. Male involvement ntono nnyo 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 especially mu Africa simanyi lwaki. Abakyala balina abaami balina ego.
Y'amaanyi.
Balina ego balina kiri ekigambo ebyo by'abakazi.
Y'abakyala.
Kizibu nnyo okufuna omusajja ajja ne mukyala we ku family planning. Tuzze twagala nzala enkola ya kizaala ggumba n'obasomesa ate bibakwatako babiri. Ate domestic violence gw'owulira oyo okulwanagana n'okukola ki ebisinga obungi biva ku ki?
Ku ebyo.
Family planning. Either omukyala yagenze ne bamukuba empiso netandika okumubleedingisa atava mu period omwami n'agamba
ojasa nekyogerako waliwo n'agamba webali kuweza nze mukwano gwange amala ennaku 13 era nnyomba naye ayina kakumukono ayina kakumukono
kyekyo kyenyini kyenjogerako nti abaami omanyi issues of sexual intercourse ebeera couple ebeera couple so omwami kukwatagana ne mukyala wo mujje mu ddwaliro babatuuze babasomese mubiteeseeko omusawo kubanga bino bintu tubibakakatako obukasi tubabuulira nti methods ezisinga okuba safe ziri natural methods munaazisobola zikola bwe ziti nti ye tugende neezo ne tubabuulira ne options zino endala eziri available eza hormono nani hormono ziri ezakaweta ne tubagamba kakati bino bina side effect bwe biti bino bina advantage bwe biti plan yamwe eri kyomanyi family planning eba plan kuba tusobola tubabuuza plan eri ki nti plan ya butazaala kumala myaka 6 kuosaamu myaka 2 nze njagala kusoma masters yange myaka kitegera eba plan kati bw'otuwa plan yo fene tukuwa ekijjamu ki
mu
plan yo so gw'osalawo nga tumaze okuwa amagezi togenda mu ddwaliro omusawo n'agamba kozesa kano
kale mukwano naye webale kulaba yes mama Hasnat
omukyala akoma ku myaka emeka okufuna olubuto ekirala tibw'obanga agende mu eri kyagambe kino olekeddeawo okulwala naye omala ebbanga nga emyezi 6 nga tolwala ne bw'oba wamira ezo piri notufaako ezo ezawansi ezituleetera ogenda otuleetera okulwala era tumalaya nekozi
asigala akola ki avuddeko mutegedde kibuuzo kisembyeyo
ekibuuzo ekisembye takimazeeyo bulungi so sitegedde kiba kyabadde abuuza ku buno obukerendo abadde abuuza ku iron naye kyasoose abadde agamba omukyala kuma myaka kyokulwala tegiriiko myaka usually ebeera range kyetuyita menopause ebeera range kuva ku myaka 35
ne ku 35 sofuka
omukyala bakoma ale ekyo olaba nti kikulu nnyo omukyala obuuze maama wo yakoma ku myaka emekokola ki
okuzaala
kubanga menopause etera okutambulira mu family maama ebiseera ebisinga emyaka gye yakomawo okuzaala most likely n'abaana be bajja kukola ki bw'abanga yamala ale ebiseera ebisinga n'abawala be bajja kukola ki kumala ale kyetuyita ale menopause naye nga on average menopause etandikira ku myaka 45 mpaka ku myaka 55 mu Uganda mu nsi endala bikyuka waliwo ababeera ne long gundi abalwawo waliwo abatandika ale so ebeera range naye kikulu kye nagambye kasola myezi 6 nga tolwadde
nga toyingidde mu myaka
oyingidde mu myaka egyo then ebiseera ebisinga obeera muki oba otandise transition ya menopause otandika n'okufuna effects zize twayogeddeko okuyiikibwa ekibugumu okola ki ne bwe kijja ale emyaka gino egy'okuzaala akakinoonyerezeeko.
Okay. Omulala aliko simu. Hello. Hello. Tugende ku hello sebo tukwaniriza nnyo.
Yebaleko.
Kale nawe tebaleko.
Kati kyembadde mbuuza. Waliwo kiva ku kyokubanga togenda mu period.
Togenda mu period.
Nga omukyala ng'agenda mu period naye nga tafuna lubuto kitwala bbanga kikuba nagwenjekaye naye tumaze ebbanga naye tafuna lubuto.
Mumaze bbanga ki?
Like nga myaka ng'ebiri.
Myaka ebiri tazaalangako? Okay. Naye nga mugezaako buli lunaku? Infertility.
Ekibuuzo kya infertility kintu kinene nnyo kyetaaga omulamwa gwalwo naye nga kyekitono nnyo kyenjogamba ku mwami oyo nti causes nyingi ezeeta infertility mu bakyala. Ekisookera ddala male factor, omwami yennyini. 20% aba causes abantu abatasobola kapa etasobola kuzaala babeera baami. Abaami baleme kubeera eyo nga balowooza nti bo bali safe. 20% babeera baami. So bwe tuba tunoonyereza tutandikira ku mwami ne tumuggyako sperm analysis semen analysis ne tumanya nti ki nti ali steady. Naye ni omukyala causes zitera okubaleetera obutazaala mainly ziba bbiri. Esooka twagambye ku ovary bwe batekola bulungi tezaala magi abakyala batera okumisinga period. Kati oyo angambye alwala most likely cause teri ku ovary. Most likely cause z'abakyala ezisinga okubaleetera obutafuna mbuto 8 ku 10 nseke. Abakyala basinga bafuna infection nga bakyali bato babeera sexually active ne bafuna infection ziri common nnyo mu environment. Ezimu ziba STD endala teziba STD ne ziba zibikira enseke. Kati omukyala yeetaaga okunoonyerezaako ku nseke ze, yeetaaga okukola tests enseke ne baziraba oba ddala zaaziba oba tezaaziba ne balaba engeri gye basobola omuyamba.
Waliwo ne bibaloga bamuloga obukaza
abo ekyokuloga tekirimu
oba gwe tokikkiririzaamu
si kituufu wabeerawo cause so bagende babanoonyerezeeko.
Okay, kati omulemu katone bwe tukomawo tukwate ku kibuuzo kiri ekya Sandra omwami wayagala kola vasectomy naye atya tovaawo n'essimu tujja kwongera okukwata temukoowaze kuba.
Ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli Lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Brave woman.
Well, I'm telling you, all the cases registered at the police station, Joe has filed them all.
Double check if you find there a name Del Suite, Aparecida de Sosa.
Del Suite?
Uh-huh.
I don't need to check. That's the case of the baby who disappeared from the tomb.
Webale nnyo okwekumira ku NTV. Dr. Luwono Bampita Flavia nagenda ku family planning mu 2006 okuva olwo saddamu kufuna lubuto nkoze buli kimu kiganye famire ye yakola ekyo famire ye yakola obubi oba nayinamu ejjirimu ate ndwala bulungi n'abaana bagikeberanga nnungi nsaba buyambi njagala kuzaala
ekyo kituzaayo kiri kye twayogedde nti issue ya infertility big issue mu Uganda kati abakyalo okuba nti osobola kuzaala kifuuse so common era kyetaaga omulamwa gwakyo nekyogerwako abakyala ne bategeera naye nzize nkikoonako ne ŋŋamba nti causes ezisinga okuleeta infertility mu bakyala 8 ku 10 zibeera nseke abakyala abasinga bafuna infections abamu bazifuna mu kuzaala abamu bazifuna bajjamu mbuto abalala bazifuna okuba nti balina ba sexual partners bangi enseke nezibikira kibi kyenseke okuzibikira ntomanya olusanyiza ofuna pain buli kaseera gye bajjanja betagenda kibayita PID naye bw'aba alwala bulungi agenda mu period omanyi omukyala bw'agenda mu period buli mwezi already sign ekulaga nti most likely girisuulibwa ye sign eyo kesinga okulaga olwala omwezi nti ye gujja tumiisinga nti ye most likely amagye gaba maki malamu ne hormones ziba nnungi so tewali mukyala alina girimu
n'abaana yino baagikeberanga nnungi
n'abaana tetera nnyo okuleeta issues mu bintu by'okuzaala okuggyako ng'erina ebizimba binene nnyo oba nga oli yakola abortion neggalawo
naye ne bweba alina problem yo olubuto olufuna ne lugana buganye kulya
oyinza okulufuna oba ne luvaamu omagwa n'abaana munafu oba nga ne period tezijjirako ddala oba nga bujja buti nga buluma nnyo tusobola okulaba kumanya nti maybe naye ng'ezo cases ziri rare cases ezisinga obungi 8 ku 10 zetulaba enseke abakyala abasinga obungi balina enseke zaazibikira era bw'oba nga ogezezaako ng'omwami talina buzibu ogezezaako ebbanga eryo n'olwala bulungi genda enseke bazikebere enseke bwe ziba zaazibikira balabe oba kisobola okuzizibukula oba ogende ku IVF
naye nga basobola ozizibukula
kisinziira wa oluzibikidde oluseke luzibikibwa manye bade saagala nnyo kuyingira mu infertility issue nene naye nga kyenjagala okugamba nti oluseke olwo lusobola okuzibikira mpozi kifaananyi kino basobola kireetako mu maaso tukiraba nti oluseke oluzibikira wano bwe lukwatira ku nnabaana bwe lukwatira ku nnabaana awo ne basanga lwazibikira awo tebalina kye basobola ddukolera bwe luzibikira makatikati makatikati wano oba ene wanene gye lusembera basobola okugezaako okuluzibukula ebiseera ebisinga okuzibukula sinziira waliwo oluseke lwosanga nga lwazibikirako katono bamanyi obbozaamu ne bakola ki ne basobola okufuna olubuto then zino ezizibikira wakati oba teluyisaamu nakamu is unfortunately tubasindika bagende bakole IVF omwana gwe tuyita babeeta mwana w'omucupa so issue y'enseke eri serious era abakyala beetaaga ne bakola ki
ne buno infections buno bwe tufuna ku candida
tewali infection ntono kubanga system y'omukyala eri open omanyi ekintu ekirikola ki ekintu disadvantage y'omukyala eriemu yenjagala okubalaga nti omukyala abeera open system eri open eno wansi gye bayita vagina mu bukyala wansi kati system eyitamu okuviira ddala mu bukyala mpaka enseke zino enseke zo ziri open ziyiwayo buyiyi eri mu byenda kati buli kantu kona kayingira eno wansi kayita mu buyisi ne kayiwayo eri kyobola system y'omukyala eri open teringa omusajja eri closed so buli akamukwatako kayi nowe kaba one contact like this omwami kasaba alina STD oba hygiene si nnungi infection kasazingira tube
okwegattagatta buli kaseera
so abakyala balina okimanya nti beetaaga okukeberebwa babulire nga bukyali bw'olwawo nojja leeti oluusi tusanga enseke ziri closed nga tolina kyakkola ate nga these are young girls bawala bato basinga obungi betulaba bawala bato bali mu productive age
kibi nnyo otutiisizza bukandida buno ebutusiibamu tulowooza byakusaaga okay tuddeyo ku kibuuzo kya Sandra my how safe is vasectomy for my husband is willing but fears its effects vasectomy kwe kusala enseke
kusala obuseke obw'omusajja omanyi vasectomy tetujja abakyala abaami tebagyetanidde nnyo Kati currently iringa method ya family planning eriwo ready available y'abasajja. Waliwo method endala zibagezaako okuvumbula ezijja maybe twina hope eza hormone abasajja basobola kuba empiso oba okumira empeke naaba nga takola ki nga tasobola kufulumya sperms naye olw'ensonga nti testis eri complicated nti okugiziiza okuzaala sperms si kintu kyangu nnyo nga omukyala kuba omukyala yasuula ejjirimu testis ebeera ne million sperms at every given time so
osanga ayinza okufuna ebirwadde
oyinza okwesanga nga n'ekirungo kiri ekya testosterone nakyo kigendeddemu ate nga kireeta omusajja okuba ki so oluusi kyobola kitwala kitutta ebbanga ddene naye nga bagezaako okulaba nti basobola okukikola ekyokuli testis teyingira mu ddagala easily yo ina barrier gye tuyita testicular barrier nti yo okuyingiramu eddagala si kyangu era okyobola nti omusajja wafuna ne infection ya testis kizibu nnyo ensigo y'omusajja kizibu nnyo okugijjanjaba teringa nga ovale ina omusaayi mungi testis nzibu okyobola nti okugifunira family plan challenge so vasectomy nebeera nga ye method eri already available eruddewo emyaka mingi abaami ekyenjagala obagamba nti vasectomy eri safe problems zetusinga okufuna n'abaami nti bajja ne bakubuuza bwensala obuseke n'aba nkyasobola okuyimirira question nnene nnyo n'aba nkyasobola okumaliriza amazzi g'ekisajja n'aba nkyasobola okusigala nga ndi musajja so vasectomy eri safe olw'ensonga bweti nadde njagala okubalaga ekifaananyi kino nakireese nti kyetuyita okusala obuseke bw'omusajja tekiina bwekikoseza nakamu obusajja bwe olw'ensonga nti ekifaananyi ekyo baba kireese ku screen bulungi mbadde njagala kulaga wansi kati ono testis yeeno eno yensigo y'omusajja testis kano ke kaseke akagivaako okalaba bwe kambuka ke katwala testis y'omulimu gwayo ekola ebintu bibiri ekola sperms nekola ne hormone ey'omusajja byomulimu gwayo gokka kati sperms zino bwe zikolebwa mu testis eno zambuka mu kaseke ako ke bayita vas difference kati bw'otunula ennyo wano wetuuka wano waggulu wano kumpi n'akawago kuba kano ke kawago akatereka omusulo waliwo akantu ke tuyita prostate akazimba ako kolaba n'akalala kano obwo buntu obubi obukola amazzi g'omusajja semen omugaso gwabo nti sperm zino bwe zibeera ne zambuka zisanga amazzi gano agava mu prostate n'eno seminovesical okuyamba okuliisa sperms balina oziriisa kubanga zitambula speed y'amaanyi so mwezifuna nutrition y'omu okusurvivinga so omusajja bwaba amaliriza amazzi ago gaalaba ameeru abeera semen si sperms ebeeramu sperms millions eziva mu testis kati baba basala akaseke basala kano akaseke akava ku testis kebakutula tebakwata ku system eri waggulu ereeta amazzi ate lwi twannyonnyola nti omusajja okuyimirira gibeera misuwa egibeera mu musajja so tewali ngeri yonna omusajja bwe omusazi akaseke bw'asobola kulema kukola ki kuyimirira so omusajja baba musazi akaseke asobola okuyimirira
amazzi aba agalina
asigala amaliriza naye gaba gali empty temuli ki sperms era omukyala talimanya bw'oba tayagadde mubuulira kukola ki tomubuulira so amazzi gabeerawo kwantita yago y'emu tekosebwa naye nga temuli ki temuli sperms ekyokubiri ekyokuyimirira ekyokumaliriza system eyo nesigala eri intact tekwatibwako ekirala nti bwaba bakusaza obuseke omusajja olina okuweewaayo emyezi 3 sperms zibeerawo okumala emyezi 3 buli cycle ya sperm esuulibwa emala ewangala emyezi 3 mu nsigo zennaku mmeka ezo 9
twali tumanyi buli lunaku baleeta
okusala obuseke enkira togenderawo n'ogamba nti okoze eki
oli wakabi
so failure zetufuna either baba musaza obuseke neyegatta mangu so olina either okukola ze bayita 21 ejaculations
21 kwegamba
so omusawo wakusala obuseke
nga teweegasse n'egi
omusawo wakusala obuseke akugamba genda omale emirundi 21
nga weeyamba weka
ne bwoba nga wegase na mukyala naye ng'okozeseza ki protection emirundi 21 okiriyalinga spams zisobola okumala ekyokubiri oba omale emyezi esatu emyezi esatu automatically baba kusaza obuseke nomala emyezi esatu spams batezikola ki
ate ne bwe baseegase
ne bwe batewegase zifa zonna ziggwamu kati tukubiriza nti wewayitawo emyezi esatu evidence yokka etulaga nti temuli spams balina okukola semen analysis ne bakebera ne balabira ddala nti semeni temukyali ki spam nemola ne balyoka bakuga ne bakuta genda okole ki
genda
wegazanye so abaami temutya choice omanya abasajja bo servicing ekibagaana okujja bendabyeko bagamba ate kati bwentuuka maaso eyo
nenjagala okuzaala
enfunayo omukazi oba nenjagala okuzaala oba omwana afunye omutawaana ebitufaana bwe bityo method zino eza permanent okusala obuseke obw'omukyala n'omukazi tubagamba abantu nti tezibeera reversible yadde attempts zisobola okukolebwa okuzikyusa ne babugeddamu ne babugatta mulimu abakomawo bansala obuseke kati nafunyeeyo haji sente ayina kati nkoze ntya tukyuse musawo nkola operation eki ye tutwattemptinga ne tukola operation obuseke ne tubuyunga naye success rate si nnene so kati omuntu yenna bwajja okusala obuseke alina okuba nga azze ng'amanyi nti kiri permanent bamukansolinga bulungi ne bamubuulira nakkiriza abaana nzadde 10 nzadde 2 biki so n'abaami batandika okwenyigira mu family planning bw'obanga abaana b'ozadde bamala gendayo bakusala obuseke n'omukyala naye omuwe break okozesa eki
pills kuba bitawaanye okay katufuneyo essimu 2 bwe zibajje ziri hello wanji nyabo tukwaniriza ku program mwasize mutya
nze Patra nasinzidde mukono
yes Patra
njagala okufuna lubuto naye oba nkoze ntya omuwala bulungi naye ate olubuto lukyagaanyi n'omwami yatandika okujja ewaka gezesa ku buli kimu nga olubuto lugaanyi ate nga nazaalako omwana alina emyaka 4
okumala bbanga ki ng'ogezaako kati
emyaka nga 2
oba temwegatta kimala azeni tambula safari oluusi n'akomawo timing nebanga sintuufu
abeerawo agenda n'akola n'akomawo
omwami alina abaana abalala
omwami naye alina abaana abalala
tulina ono yekka
wammwe mwembi
musese
obadde ku family planning
badde ku family planning nakozesa ku makelenda negavaako netekamu plan
notekamu pill plan for how long wagijjamu bbanga ki
no plan
najijjamu omwaka oguwedde
so omaze myezi nga 6
nga gijjemu
omaze bbanga ki ng'ogijjemu
maze omwaka mulamba nga gijjemu
kale webale mukwano
servicinga okiraba nti question zonna kati abantu abasinga wara yawe eri kutaza ekyo nakugambye nti issue za infertility nyingi it's a worrying trend ate zizze mu bakyala abali mu reproductive age abasinga obungi bali myaka 2 kuba ku myaka 25 okutuuka ku myaka 35 bebasinga obungi naye bw'oba analyzinga bonna abasinga problems ziva ku nseke majority nagambe 8 ku 10 kati omukyalo oyo kisookera dda kyenjo muga simanyi kyategeeza nkozeseza buli kimu sirowooza nti buli kimu naye nga kyenjagala omubuulira nti ekisooka family planning method ezisinga obungi teziziyiza kukola ki tezireeta infertility yeyeemu ku means abakyala abasinga gye balina tewali method ya family planning egana mukyala kuzaala nga agivuddeko particularly eyo no plant gyagamba gye yateekamu olugijjamu tekikutwalira na myezi 2-3 usually oba osobola okukola ki abakyala kyebeera bidde nti ebiseera bimu babeera family planning method zino bafuna liberty y'amaanyi ne bafuna ne baba nga tukiyita unlimited intercourse beerabira nti family planning eziyiza just lubuto teziyiza kukola ki infection so liberty eyo oluusi exposing ofuna infection so abamu ogenda okusanga nga bwagijjamu n'alowooza nti family plan yaleese obuzibu ogenda obbakebera enseke ezisinga ziba zaazibikira lwa infections. So omukyalo oyo yeetaaga alabe gynecologist bamwasesinge bulungi, suubira nti amagi ge malungi, bajja kukola hormone tests, bakole test gye bayita HSG balabe enseke ze, n'omwami bamukole semen analysis. Omwami yali azaddeko tekimugaana kola ki kufuna problems na sperm. So n'omwami bajja mukola semen analysis balabe problem eri bamuyambe. Ate omusawo ne bwagamba nti enseke zaazibikira beyond repair kubanga ekyo nakyo kiri common. Sera ebisinga ozitunulako n'ogamba
so kyokina kyo tuyinza kukola kyamaanyi.
Wabeerawo era still solution IVF weri n'ebirala lwakuba nti eba expensive naye ekisinga obukulwaso agende bamwasesinge bulungi balabe problem ekola ki. Abakyala abasinga obuzibu bwe bayina nti bagenda okujja ewaffe nga batambudde bamuwadde obudomola herbalists nabo tebali clear kye basobola okukola ne kye batasobola kukola byonna bagamba tubikola ki. Omukyala n'abeera eyo n'anywa obudomola ku domola sente bazitutte tebalina diagnosis kubanga tosobola kujjanjaba nga tolina diagnosis. Olina okubeera ne diagnosis kino kyenkola ki kyenzijanjaba evidence kisoboka tekisoboka n'otamalira muntu biki biseera. Waliwo abakyala mubola bazze enseke zaazibikira amaze emyaka kumpi 8-9 agezaako bano bamuwa kino bano bamusazesaze naye azze ku myaka 42-43 n'omugamba kati tutandikire enseke zaazibikira amagi toyina okitegeera. So bayetaaga bafune intervention nga bakyali ng'obudde bukyali genderawo omusawo anoonye nga bukyali okusinga
for her case omwaka si kinene nnyo akwata tubulidde age
kubanga bw'abanga ng'amaze emyezi nga 6 si bwagambye ng'avudde ku no plant
agambye amaze mwaka
nga mulamba. So omwaka omulamba usually yandibadde afuna olubuto bw'abanga mwami talina buzibu nga bafuna adequate contact sexual contact ogerako at least omukyala yakwegatta emirundi 3 ewiiki ya adequate contact era tubabuuza olina contact oba omusajja wa safari ajja omulundi gumwe omwezi n'abeera atya nti asobola okukozesa ennaku zennya zokka z'olina ng'omukyala. So kiwe kibanga kiri bwe kityo agende bamwasesinge tubes bamunoonyerezeeko balaba waliwo obuzibu oba tewali oluusi ebeera n'ajust anxiety
kasita okiteekako ennyo
ebeera anxiety kati oyinza osaba mukyala nga talina buzibu bwonna era banaakola hormone analysis ne bakola tests ezeetaagisa ne balaba nga of course infertility kyerina okugamba nti omuntu yenna bw'aba takozesa family planning n'atasobola kufuna olubuto mu myezi 6 edda twayogeranga ku mwaka kati twakikende kiri 6 months within 6 months ng'olina adequate contact tosobodde kufuna olubuto ogenda bakunoonyerezeeko ku mwaka walina okubaawo obuzibu bakinoonyerezeeko balabe wa tewali kibazudde bayinza okumubuulira tewali issue agezeeko okutrying.
Okay. Byebyo Dr. Spire Kigundu gwe tubadde naye ebibuuzo bingi nnyo tetusobodde kubimalayo biyitirivu ate nga ne ku SMS bangambye bikyajja n'amasimu gakyajja naye tetujja koowa kumuzza kuba naye tannaba kutukoowa kutunnyonnyola naye atasobodde kuyitamu ate ng'ekikyolaba kyamangu tosobola kulinda mulundi mulala osobola omufuna ku 0782 10 45 0782 10 45 96 enamba ya Dr. Spire mukubire mwogeraganye mu privacy. Nze Farida tudde munate enkya temutukoowa kubanga tubagala nnyo. Thank you, Doctor.
Add the Radiant Hair Polisher before styling and finish your magical look with the Radiant Olive Sheen Spray. Your big day is definitely on. Radiant. Feel yourself.
NTV, turning on your world.
Wanna make some cash? Just dial *185#.
Davis is my name. I reside in Chitezi, Wakiso district. I enrolled for the promotion Yolo Maja with Airtel. I subscribe for DSTV. I subscribe for Umeme. I pay my bills via Umeme. I do transactions, mobile money transactions, and that's how I got to the draw. I got lucky to win 619,000. Thank you, Airtel.
Airtel, the smartphone net.
Mumanyi bye boogera ku bakyala. Baani abakaabakaaba? Bakyala. Baani abakola emirimu? Bakyala. Ha! Baani abatamira zi shopping? Bakyala. Baani abasiiba mu zi selfies?
Bakyala.
Baani abasinga katemba? Bakyala. Naye twagala tubalage kiki ddala kye tuli. Mulabe nti tetuli bubeezi. Bakyala. Katubanjulire Spark TV. TV y'abakyala esookedde ddala mu Uganda. Gye tubakoledde okutumbula ebirungi mu mmwe. Spark TV. Ke kaseerako.
You have the nerve to confess that you were the one who killed my sister!
Corolla, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen, we're all very upset with the news, but please don't talk that kind of nonsense.
It isn't nonsense, Emilio! It's all your fault! It's all because of you! Because of you, I couldn't say goodbye